On this episode, I delve into the topic of self-mastery with a man who has truly mastered himself. My guest is Brian, and when I met him, I never would have guessed that he'd have been the person that was sitting in front of me. Brian was the first manager at my initial job here in Austin, Texas, and he openly admits at that time he was struggling. However, he made a conscious choice to overhaul his life in multiple aspects. He took control of his life in a way that only he could have done. We also talk about the benefits of super fancy water. Let's jump in. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Modern Good Podcast. I'm so glad that you're coming back. If this is your first time, thank you for checking this out. We got a real great episode for you today. Before we get started, all the usual shout outs. Joe Andrade Media. He does all my cool pictures on social media. Jason, he's at Wish Pocket. He's my audio guy. If you need audio done, he can do that for you. No Names Originals. That's my guy, Jaron. He does custom clothing and art. You can find him in North Carolina. Please support local artists, especially in North Carolina. My guy Mo, he has a Go Bubble app, and if you use the promo code Go Moderately, you get a discount. And then one of my newest sponsors is Lone Sun Decor. That's my guy Peyton. He does custom art. Most of it's on wood, painting and stuff like that. Just really cool stuff. So check that out. You can find all these at their Instagrams. I'm just going to get started with my guest. This is my guy Brian. Say hi, Brian.
Hey, Brian.
And I originally met Brian back at my first job at 24, and he was one person then, and now he is this Brian. So, Brian, tell everybody what you do, where they can find you, all your social medias. Give us a quick synopsis of who you are.
Okay. So let's see. My name is Brian Johnson. I'm 45 years young. I started doing the health thing when I was 7. So I have invested 90% of my life being a health and wellness nerd with the very few simple questions that required some answering. Number one was, how can I help myself and other human beings thrive as fast as possible, and what's necessary to create miracles as fast as possible, and what's keeping people from thriving? Those questions led me with some very interesting things along the way of different skill sets and different ways that I value information. So this is one of the reasons why it got me into body language and language so fast, because I've never seen it not work, and I see it work instantly. And that's one of the reasons why I love working, because I can help eliminate suffering and solve people's problems within seconds using body language and language. So that's one of the things I really love about it. What else we got in there?
Well, where do they find you? What's all your stuff?
So what do I do? I'll tell you this real quick. So basically, I coach high performers. Really all people who are committed to thriving, I help. If you're not, I can't help you out. But any times people with diseases, people who are just looking to improve the quality of their experiences, people who are already performing on high levels, looking to go on even higher levels, I get to wear all those hats. So there's not problems that I can't solve. It's just a matter of whether someone's open-minded. So I get to wear all the hats in all those different arenas. Where you can find me at, the best thing to do is go to brianjohnsoncoaching.com. And here's the thing. My social medias are kind of sometimes banned and shadow banned. So here's what I'm going to do. When you listen to our podcast, I've given you a couple of instances talking about a chart. My body language chart. Get it. I'm going to give you my text message number where you can text message me. And when I see you back here in my text message line, my chart will automatically pop up for you. But I got a lot of stuff, like interviews with Jillian Michaels, Dr. William Davis, Dr. Stephen Gundry, tons of resources. I'll get you access to all those. But when you get on my text message service, it will give me a direct line of communication with you directly. That way I can get you what you need. I can send you where you need or get you the resources that you need. Plus, I always do a free chat with all my people, so that way I can solve some problems for you and help you out. And it's just my way to get to connect with you and see where I can best serve you at. So the text number is 512-648 5440. When you text message me, just type the word chart. Don't say, hey, Brian, just type the word chart. Don't put a period. Just hit chart and press send. My chart will pop up for you, and then I will see you, and then I'll say hi to you, and I'll send you an audio message so you know it's me. And then I can get clear on what you need and where you're at, and then I'll help you with the rest of it, and I'll get you my other social media and things like that. But BrianJohnsonCoaching.com is the best way to start. And then just text message me at 512-648-5440. Comment the word chart, and then I'll see you, and then I'll direct you from there.
Nice. Okay, so when you walked in, I couldn't help but notice your bling. But I have a feeling this bling is not regular bling. So tell me about your necklace. I want to know about your necklace.
And when I see you, I'll give you a link to this. So I have a company called Pyradine, Pyradyne. That's also, I'm going to show you this. Yeah, there's stones in here. So I have jewelry. It's called functional jewelry, right? Functional jewelry. Wow. Yeah, that has metals and stones and stuff in it. So that, and I have probably, like, here's this one too. I have like 3 or 4 different ones. And depending upon what my muscles test at, and you could flip it over in the back too, there's different things on there. So yeah, so Dr. Fred Bell, he's passed on by now. I'll say he was helped pass on, meaning he was knocked off in my opinion. His daughter is still alive. She runs his company, Pyradine, Pyradyne, and I'll give you a discount code. But long story boring, I got to tell you this story because the first time I got introduced to, I choose to remember her name here in a second. I see her voice, but I can't think of her name here. Megan. As soon as I saw Megan, I was at a mastermind where people were paying 30 grand a pop to be there for 3 days. I got invited to come in and talk about body language. So we're there talking about body language. I got introduced to the people, to Megan, who have these things. Okay, so the first one that I had was a gold one with a topaz stone. So when we tested to find out which one, we muscle tested everything first. I could tell which one my body liked. Have you ever seen a dowsing rod?
Yeah.
People who have not, these dowsing rods, you can hold, it's like a L, okay? This thing over here has a swivel, so this thing can spin around, right? So if I was like, okay, where is Scotty? The things would go towards him. Or as soon as I was like, if I was holding these things and I was walking up to Scotty, as soon as I hit his energy field, those things would open up. That way we can tell where the energy field is, okay? These have been used back in biblical days, but long story boring. Before I put my new chain on, Megan stood in front of me with those dowsing rods, and when she got about 3 foot away from me, they opened up, which means my energetic field was off my body about 3 foot. Check this out. So I put my new necklace on. Instantly, my crown chakra, my head starts tingling. I'm very intuitive, or not intuitive, yes, and hypersensitive to what's going on in my field when things are going on. So she picks up the dowsing rods, 3 foot, still wide open. She goes back 5 foot, wide open, 10 foot, 15 foot, 25 foot, 30 foot back before they close off.
Wow.
Yeah. Now, what I started noticing is that my communication was more powerful. My energy was better, because you can type DR, like Dr. Fred Bell, 2 L's, all one word on YouTube, and he still has videos up. Like, this guy was picked up when he was 16 to go work for Black Ops. Okay. Like, he's had his hand in a lot of nasty stuff, but he's also come around with other good stuff to balance it out, knowing what was going on, what it was being used for. I think he was personally knocked off. Like, have you ever seen Jesse Ventura, Conspiracy Theorist? Whatever that name of that show was?
Yeah.
Dr. Fred Bell was on the death ray, and he's the one talking about it. He actually disappeared right after that. So he created technologies to help balance out and mitigate stuff, right? All the EMS and different things. So this right here is a blend of NASA and Palladian technology. And when you look on here, the stones will change depending upon what you like. I've probably had 7 or 8 different ones, because as you change consciousness, the stones are going to change. Right. So as you change consciousness, the stones will change, but there's a hole in the back of this thing. So when the light or the energy comes through the stone, this sits over my solar plexus. So it sits over the stone. It's collected in those scalar waves. There's 144 pyramids in there in conjunction with scalar waves in there. And when it pops out the back, it goes through some stuff. But basically what happens is the energies that were negative get transmuted into something that's positive. Now, you can go on, when you look at Dr. Fred Bell's YouTube page, there's guys doing this example where he's huffing some poisonous shit and he has the thing on. They muscle test him before and then they muscle test him while he's breathing with the necklace on, and there's no change in his body's physiology state. So I have had pretty it's kind of hard to say like it was just this specific thing. It's a lot of things, but I can tell that when I have the proper things on from an energetic support, I can tell my body functions crisper than usual, because nowadays with all the shenanigans going on, the 5Gs, and it is fucking everywhere, you got to have ways to be able to keep yourself protected, because if not, even if you are protected, there's a high probability you might still be having some interference because we're swimming in it.
Yeah.
You know, I'll track us in 25. We'll see where our program is. So just pay attention to how you feel.
That'd be cool.
Yep. And we'll run some stuff while we're going, just track and see how much this one's got on it. We run a coherence.
So what is it telling you right now?
So this is not telling me anything right now. What it's doing right now is just running an activation program. So let's say it's been running for 20 minutes. So that's what it'll look like. It's on 100. So we're both getting pretty juiced up. So let's say this thing runs for 100. It might have 1,000 different frequency sets that it's running through in an hour. Every 10 seconds, this thing is running biofeedback, so that it can say or get clear on how much to send, what frequencies to send. It's doing a lot of information, but this thing is a freaking gold mine for being able to identify. Like if I'm working on clients, or if clients are in the weeds or something, 2 to 6 minutes, I can straighten it out and then it'll tell them like, hey, here's what's going on emotionally or blah, blah, blah. And dude, that thing is staggeringly accurate. And especially on stuff that we are underneath the hood to us, which is a big deal. So this thing will identify it, and then what it'll do is it'll put the proper frequencies into your field to change your information going into your subtle energy body, which changes the body. I tell people it's a mind, body, and soul integration tool, because this thing will pull up past life stuff. If you believe in that, it'll pull it. And I've never had a conscious understanding of past lives, at least for me having a recollection of doing it. Yet, however, I do believe that it makes a lot more sense for us to be here a lot of times learning lessons versus just one time and being done. At least that's my common sense rationale about it, But this thing will pull up that information and it'll track it, and then it'll put it all together. So that instead of a body being fragmented in different areas and times and space, and if you choose to, we'll do some today while we're on live. I got 2 of them at Friday. I bring it. So if you want to run some scans, we can do it while we're live and I'll show you.
Yeah.
But what it will do is, here, let's just do it right now while we're talking about it. Yeah. I can do it while we're talking. So I'm going to do this real quick. We'll just plug in. So just, this thing is crazy.
What are you doing right now? So like, it kind of explain what you're doing.
Professionally, what am I doing?
Yeah, so you have this device, and the device is what? It's coils, said?
It says 2 quantum frequencies in here, 2 quantum sensors in here. And basically, if you are familiar with a Rife machine, you ever heard of a Rife machine?
I feel like I have, but
you probably have. Amazing, because most people haven't. Like people who are deep in the health game who are not. Here, pull your face up and take a screenshot or a selfie real quick. So this thing will put your face in here, and we'll put your birth date and your birthplace, and watch what happens.
So what did people do before they had smartphones and these types of little devices? What did you do? Like how would someone do this?
I mean, honestly, this is where it gets kind of interesting, because people not having tools, I mean, I guess they just did what they did, right? And then this is where a lot of people will go internal more and do a lot more of their internal work, but they probably had a lot more information that was actually legit. I mean, I'm pretty convinced at this point that all the information that we have is crap. All right, pay attention to how you feel.
Okay.
What this thing is going to do is we're going to run a couple of scans real quick. I'm going to run an aura analysis. So this thing will scan your energetic fields, and I'm going to send you these too, so that way you can go back and look at them when we're done. You can just see the PDF information that it pulls up. But really what I do is I just pay attention to how I feel. Because if I'm in the weeds, like if I'm not enthusiastic, something's up. And I should have brought it, but I just remembered. I'll send you this chart. And for our people listening, I have a chart that I'll give to you for free that will show you on your body where emotions are active. So here's a couple of examples. So when someone has sorrow or sadness active, think about a time in your past when you wanted to cry, or maybe you were. Tension shows up right here.
Mm-hmm.
That's where sorrow and sadness shows up physically when it's active. There's other locations where other emotions will do the same thing. So this way it allows me to get out of the world of theories and opinions and get clear, like, okay, I am out of alignment. Where am I out of alignment at? Okay, then I track on my body what it is, and then I can clean it up and then have validation. What I did just worked, and finito, it's done.
Right.
Yeah, I've seen people who have had therapy for 30 or 40 years, bro, go away in seconds, and they get really pissed off with me until I clean that stuff up. Like, you've been paying for that for that long. That's crazy.
So when you say someone goes to therapy for 30 years and they can't solve their problems, you're saying the problem was with either their frequency, where they were at, their body was at, not where their head was at?
That's correct. And the body's going to track it. So here, we'll do some right now. So pay attention. I'm running scans for you as we're going through this.
Okay.
So first thing is, think about a person in your past that you've had some challenges with.
Okay.
Let me know when you got him or her.
Her, got it.
Okay. Now, what you're going to do is you're doing this, watch, because if you go up in your mind, you're going to go visual. To feel, eyes down. Okay. So track. When you think about this person, do you have any tension that shows up in your throat?
No.
How about in your chest?
A little.
Okay. How about your solar plexus?
No.
Okay. Anything in your stomach? Maybe feel like you're hungry even though you already ate?
No.
Okay. How about below your belly button?
Maybe a little.
Okay. How about on your back?
No.
Okay. So here's what we're going to break down. And bro, this is gold, because what I'm showing you right now is how to take anybody in your life one at a time, pull them up. And what I just took you through is I have a Abra program, right? It's a digital product, but Abra, like abracadabra, poof, to create with words. The A is awareness. This is what we just did. And I'm going to help you track the emotions so you understand what's what. And then I'm going to help you clean it up. I'm going to load this other program up for you right quick. So just check in with yourself. Pay attention. See how your mind feels, your body. We're going to run Alaskan Gym elixirs. So this thing is going to basically scan your fields, which it's doing right now, and then it's going to take certain frequencies from certain gemstones, and it's going to install them into your information field of your body. So just pay attention to how you feel, because it's pretty quick once it does its magic. All right, so Abra. Okay, A is awareness. This is what we just did. We scanned. So did you say throat?
No. Yes. Throat.
Okay. So sorrow and sadness shows up here. And for those of you listening who choose to have this, I will give you, Scotty G, I'll give you my text message number, and they can text the word chart, and it'll pull up for you. And then I'll always do a free call and help people out. So throat is sorrow and sadness. Okay. So hold on to that one. Chest, was there something there?
Mine was chest and below the waist, but sorrow and sadness is in your throat.
Okay. So I'm going to walk you through all of them. So sorrow and sadness, right? And then we have chest, which is fear. So fear is going to show up in one of two places. It's going to show up in your chest. Like if I had a circle right here, it'll show up right there. It'll also show up in my stomach like I'm hungry, even though I already ate. That's a big one, because I've been 250 3 different times. And a lot of times people are eating because they think they're hungry, but it's not. That's how fear feels. It's exactly the same. Okay. So we have solar plexus, which is grief. Chest is fear. Okay. You had stomach, but you didn't have any more on that one. Below your belly button is subconscious grief. Okay. So anytime you have two locations active and grief is one of them, always go to grief first. I found that grief's like the OG or the kingpin. Once we clean that one up, the rest kind of disappears. We'll find out. Okay. So we have Abra, A, awareness, meaning anytime you're in the weeds, you're out of alignment. This is exactly what I do and what I coach my students and coaches to do. Abra, it's easy to remember, like abracadabra, poof, right? A is awareness. So we just did the A, we scanned and we got, okay, I got check and check. Okay, I know. Fear is active and subconscious grief. Makes sense? Next, B is breathe. So throughout the day, whether someone does the first part or not, this is critical, because most people don't realize they're functioning in fear. They don't realize they're living their life in fear because they're so used to it, they don't have any contrast to it. Here's how you can confirm this, because don't trust anything I say. Test it for yourself. When you're tracking throughout the day, if you have tension in your chest, if you're breathing from your chest, meaning your stomach is not going out, that means your body, your nervous system is in fear. Okay? Period. Doesn't matter what someone's thinking. This is why I love body language, because it's always going to tell me the truth. I don't have to track it in my mind, because every time I thought something in my mind, when I tracked my body, it was not the same. Okay. So a lot of what I do is help people to connect those dots back together. Like those scratches right there on your face, that's all code stuff. Pay attention. We were running Alaskan Jimmy lectures. Now we're going to run. How you feel right now?
I mean, I can still feel something in my chest.
We haven't cleaned it up just yet.
But
just pay attention, because we're incrementally peeling back onion layers in our jam session today, right? So, all right, so here we go. So awareness, breathe. We know if we're breathing from chest, that means fear is active. That's okay. That's what we're tracking, right? So throughout the day, just tracking that is a big deal, because if you realize you're breathing from your chest, oh, wow, I'm in fear. Okay, great. Knowing is the first part. If I don't know it, I can't change it. Right? So once I know it's active, then I can change it. So we have fear. Okay. So awareness, breathe. The first R is release. So all you're going to say is this, and track it. I'll help you with it. I give myself permission to feel my grief about our experience, Susan, such and such, and it's okay. Use that one.
I give myself permission to feel grief around. Is that around?
Around our experience, Susan, and it's okay.
It's okay.
Perfect. Now here's where we're gonna go. So those stutter patterns, it's all code. You don't have a stutter problem. It's coding out. Okay, and I'll break it down for the 3: sorrow, sadness, or grief. That's what we're working on right now. The body was like, hey, grief. And this is what we're cleaning up right now. Okay. So it's just all following. The stutter is important, because the reason why the stutter would happen for anyone is because they're not tracking what I'm telling you. They're not aware that their body's been talking to them the whole time. Like, oh, wow, I've had this tension in my solar plexus. I just thought it was just my body, right? It is, but it's the divine genius of your body that's attempting to get our communication to connect and to commune, to shift it. And once we shift it, you're going to find it's going to clean up instantly. All right. So here we go. So I give myself permission to feel my grief. Go ahead.
I give myself permission to feel my grief
about our experience,
such
and such, and it's okay.
It's okay.
Good. Now that's important, because the first time, and this is, many people do this, many times people will leave the my off, like my grief. Instead, they will say grief, which doesn't connect them. So then they don't have to feel it, right? Language codes is fascinating, right? So now we have the release part. So just track your body and just see if your body feels any more relaxed with just that piece. We haven't cleaned it up yet, but just notice.
Yeah, I do feel more relaxed.
That's the release piece. Now we're going to recode it. Okay. So the recode is simple. I choose to love my grief into my joy. Get it?
I choose to love my grief into my joy.
And I give myself permission to move forward. Okay, now track your belly button or below your belly button and see if it's any loose or what.
Yeah.
That's how fast it works. We didn't have to get into he said this, she said that. I'm talking, it is that fast. Like going to work for me, I go on social media and go on TikTok and go live 5-6 nights a week and solve problems for people doing this stuff that I don't talk to, that I don't see. They just like, hey, okay, who's got an issue? Okay, I got a shoulder issue. I got a calf issue. I crack it down with body language, which we'll talk about today, and help them resolve their problems. And that's where a lot of my clientele comes from, is doing that kind of stuff and teaching coaches and people who used to personal train how to do this stuff. Because if I would have known this back then, dude, like in my experience, I've never seen this stuff not work ever.
Okay.
Now track this real quick. Did your chest relax?
Yeah.
So there we know. Grief was the kingpin.
Yeah. I mean, and I think, okay. So like if I'm feeling grief with this person, why would that be? Because I'm sad about our interactions, or like, and why would I feel grief, I guess?
Well, it could be a number of things. It could also be mom stuff.
Well,
that hasn't been cleaned up. But here's the point. If we have stuff going on in our relationships that we don't clean up, it's going to show up in
grief.
Yeah. It's going to show up in another person, ideally the same sex or energy. Female energy, feminine energy, mom. Another person will show up in your experience that has the same type of cycles to help us learn the lesson. So as we go through and track what's going on, and we can clean it up and stay in, like, so think about your track your body. Go through your checkpoint every time, like no matter what's going on in your world. For those of you listening, what I'm showing you right now is $1 billion tool, because once you can go from, okay, this person, I have something going on. Question is, okay, now what's going on? Because once I know what, then I know what the flip side of it is. But if I don't know I'm in fear, I don't know my courage or faith is on deck.
Right.
Or if I don't know sorrow or sadness or grief is up, I don't know my joy is on deck.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Right.
So all we're doing is we're using our body, not our mind. We're using our body to give us that truth every time. It's going to tell you with exacting specificity, because when we start doing this stuff, your body's going to start scratching and itching, which is all code that we are using to hardwire our new identity with confirmation and validation that what we did just worked, because our body is telling us the whole time.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Track how you feel right now. We just ran some Australian bush flowers. Did your mind feel peaceful?
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't feeling terribly jumbled before.
Yep. It's all good.
But also, okay, so I want to ask you this, like, when you're doing this with your clients, like, can they close their eyes? Like,
you can.
Because like, it's almost like I can't concentrate.
Too much stuff going on. Especially when we start pushing up against stuff that's been around for a bit. Distractions are going to pop up.
Sure. Yeah.
100%. So sometimes as long as you're able to stay present, instead of someone disappearing and dropping out, like my coach will make us stay eye locked because it keeps us present. But I also understand when there's a lot of things going on, it's easier for me to close off here so I can be internal.
Right.
So
right.
yeah, we can work on both.
So I have a question really quick. So, okay, what kind of clients do you have now? Who are your clients?
Most of my clients fly around in private jets.
Okay. But like, these aren't people looking for weight loss. You're not doing training. You're not doing any of that stuff anymore.
No,
really?
I don't do any physical training stuff. So
this is more of like mentally
self-mastery stuff. Now I help people reverse diseases and come off medication and stuff like that too, because I have a vast background in nutrition.
Right.
But a lot of what I'm doing is helping people step into self-mastery by getting clear on who they're being when they're out of alignment. Where am I out of alignment? How can I confirm that? And then I help them to recode new information and then have validation that what they did just worked. So a lot of my work is working with couples, helping them to connect and to communicate and understand how to communicate effectively without projecting their stuff, but also being able to get clear, like, who am I being and why does this stuff keep showing up in my experience? Because there's things going on that we haven't cleaned up. Yeah. What I help people do is clean that stuff up and give them the tools to be able to do that. So lifestyle integration, rewiring their sleep, getting off medications, helping communication connection with their daughters or wives or husbands, all that stuff.
So when you work on this stuff, do you notice that changes like every aspect of their life?
Bro, listen to this.
Like weight loss, like, I mean, everything that they were struggling with before, no matter what it was, maybe even alcohol or drugs and things like that, that just stuff just goes away?
Yep. It's all identity stuff. And I'm running another program. Yeah, I'm listening to you. It's all identity stuff. This is the big thing, right? So, and I'll share this with you too, because this is important. So when people come to me, they kind of don't realize what they're getting themselves into. And I tell them, I say, look, are you in a relationship? They're like, yeah, I'm in a relationship. I'm like, all right, cool. Is your partner open-minded? They're like, I'm like, look, here's what's going to happen. One of two things. You're going to huddle up and get on the same page, or you're going to split up. What I do at this moment of being 45 years young and having some more understanding of my own life and kind of path and what I've kind of been blessed to get out of, by the grace of God, I did my best to not get out of here for sure. I have found that I'm kind of more like a soul's guide. I help people take all their traumas and their experiences and their issues that they're having and recode all that information, process all that lineage stuff, and then really reinstall new self-mastery identities in their nutrition, their mindset, their emotions, their well-being, and then help them put together the infrastructure in their life to support that type of outcome. So it's a lot of little moving parts, but a lot of it is language and body language. Like if I had to say, hey, what I use the most, language and body language, what we're doing, because it's always there. When you're talking to people, their body's going to tell you instantly the first 3 words out of their mouth is code most of the time. And when people are really aware of this, it's for me. You know, I mean, one thing to read someone else, but if I don't even know what's going on at home, like what's the point, right?
Right.
So what I help people do is have the tools and the skill sets and the awareness to be able to use their body and the information that it's giving them, and then make new choices. Did you come upon all this stuff because of your life? Like
Like, let me ask you this. Would you say that you are mastering your life right now?
Yes, for sure. Mastering me.
Yeah. That's no. I mean, that's the only thing you can really do, right?
For sure.
And you're helping people figure that out. But is that because you had to figure that out?
I believe so. I mean, that's, I believe why I am here is to help people figure that out and help people put together here's the interesting conversation. So a lot of this Christianity, Christed stuff, like it's very interesting stuff. What I'm finding is that we all have the physiological capacity to be a Christed being if someone is willing to do the work. So what I'm doing is help people put those pieces of the puzzle together to allow that genetic expression to come through, because it's not being contorted and being disrupted by other past experiences. Now, as we're going into higher levels of dimensions from all the solar flares and the Schumann resonance and all that, this is what's going on. Most people are going to lose their marbles because they don't have the capacity, the neurology to hold that type of download information, but they also don't have the spiritual understanding to know what's really going on to take that information and transmute it. And people aren't going to have the tools. So what I'm doing is helping people to get clear on how to be with themselves, how to be authentic and accurate about what you're feeling so you can change it. And when you're out of alignment, how to have conscious validation of where you're out of alignment, because your body is going to tell you at any point in time with any person. You can pull them up. It'll track it. Once we have that information, then we can change it. But if I don't have it, I can't change it. Makes sense.
Yeah.
So all we're doing is just recoding that information on the spot and then checking in like we did as soon as we were done, going through ABRA, awareness, breathe, release, recode. The last A is appreciate. Like if you were doing this by yourself, appreciation is just, oh man, I'm grateful for this. I'm grateful for that. It's just a verbal state of gratitude to ascend or escalate my emotional well-being back up to enthusiasm, entheos, God in you, God in us. Right. So all we're doing with the A, oh, that's body language stuff. So I will, I can. My nose is going to start itching a lot. When I start teaching, it's like, ugh. So, when you're doing this, your right side is I will, in case we're cambered and it's reversed. Right side is I will, left side is I can. So when you're doing this, I will, left side is I can. I'll start tracking this stuff that we're talking, because the body's going to start doing some interesting stuff because it's going to start talking. It is talking all the time.
Okay. So this is my next question.
Yeah.
When you go out in public, are you just like, you're just picking up shit?
I used to when I was practicing a lot more, but now that I understand, it's kind of like
you can turn it off a little bit.
It's kind of like when we were doing all the NASM stuff back in the training days and learning postural deviations. Same way.
But like when I go out in public, I look at people's ankles and shoulders and stuff like that. And
let's talk about it. Add another layer to it, because this will give you some great understanding.
But that's what I'm saying. Yep. It's like, does that drive you? I mean, does it get on your nerves?
No, honestly, but this is important. I'm glad you're talking about this. It's important because my job is to make sure that I'm voting victory instead of judging the shit out of someone. There's a big difference, because if I'm judging them like bop, 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 I'm either picking up something I already have, or I'm going to be activating it because I'm putting a feeling or a judgment towards it. So when I'm seeing that or watching these things, I'm voting victory. I'm seeing perfection in my mind to keep my emotional body from engaging negatively. That's important.
Earlier you said something about, I forgot how you worded it, something about Christianity, like being like the true
Christ being.
Right. Am I understanding what you mean by that is like, if you really went out and you did exactly what you're talking about right there, that's Christ being, right? Like that's,
I believe that.
And so like being like that, being Christ-like, caring for other people, doing for other people, putting out good energy, taking care of yourself, like all that kind of stuff. Like if we actually did that, it would be successful. But the idea of like church and Christianity is like total, like kind of bullshit.
Some of it. Yeah. I mean, a lot of my experience with church has definitely been jaded. So I believe that there is a experience for a lot of people, not just me, that have had that, you know what I mean? But people who are able to make it through and get past the shenanigans and get into a true relationship with God or presence, Holy Spirit, whatever your version of that is. I believe those are the ones who have been able to take the negative experiences and transmute them and be able to grow from them and then step into a higher and better expression.
That's how I feel.
That's all we're here to do.
What are you most grateful for?
Bro, I'm grateful for God. There's 4 of them. God, let's see, God, family, health, and business. But I have an acronym called G4. So it's God, gratitude, growing, and giving. Those are 4 important for me because anytime I'm out of alignment, one of those is off. It's generally not the God when it's generally me not being grateful, which means if I'm not being grateful, it means I'm investing or spending more time in fear. And as soon as I track that, then I can start being grateful. I'll automatically shift my vibe. Okay. Yeah. So God, gratitude, growing, and giving. Those 4 help me to, navigate and keep myself. I'm most grateful for God. I'm most grateful for my family. Because, man, back when, dude, let's just talk about this for a minute.
Well,
right?
Let me ask you, just so to kind of set it up.
Yep.
So we met in probably 2004-ish.
Yep.
Somewhere around
this
there.
When I just stepped down from fitness managing and started training over at Lake Creek on my way out the door, 24-hour before all my life experiences started to happen.
But you were still, I think when I got there, you were still the manager, right? So tell me about that, Brian.
Yep.
And then tell me about how you got to this Brian.
Yeah. So, full disclosure, I'll be Brian because I don't know how to be Frank, right? So when we met together, I had really started going into I was partying 4 or 5 nights a week. I mean, we were doing rails in the bathroom. Like there was a lot of this shit going on at that point in time in my life. Was coming off a relationship, and this is where it got really interesting. This is what set the whole thing off. So when I was 20, I had a relationship that went south, and dude, when it fucked me up. Like I had no idea, I could feel like this, number 1. Number 2, I lost 20 pounds in 2 weeks. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep, started doing drugs, bad fucking combo. And really at that moment, I made up that I didn't love myself and that love equaled pain. That's a very important point because a lot of people, that is a fact. Love is love. Love cannot equal pain. Love is impossible to equal pain. Love is love, right? It is my association and belief towards it that made it so. And this is what brought me to the next point. So when you met me, I had been out of that relationship, came back from college, got into another relationship, and I started noticing when I would start to get happy, I would start sabotaging myself in relation. And I would notice this.
Like, give me an example.
I would be at the gym, and I would be happy with my partner, and all of a sudden I would start sabotaging myself, start thinking about other women, just doing other stuff, because for me, love equaled pain. So when I started getting into a happy position in my relationship, I would automatically go, oh no, ding, 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 ding,
Gotta make it hard. It's gotta hurt.
Is this the right one? Is this person over here? But just all of that stuff, right? So it really started creating some conflicts internally that I started using a lot of drugs for. I didn't have any emotional tools. Like I didn't get into my emotional understanding. Let's say I'm 45. I went to jail when I was right after I met you, 26, 27. So I didn't really start getting heavy duty into emotional tools until probably about 8 years ago. And even when I went to jail, I was there for 7 or 8 months. That was one of the best, most shitty experiences ever for me. I thought I was going to lose my mind the first 3 months because I had taken me going from partying 4 or 5 nights a week to using drugs to go to bed, to wake up, to stay asleep, all these things, having sex as an outlet, having food as an outlet, having working out as an outlet, having going out as an outlet, having everything that I needed to avoid me not dealing with me, being around other people all the time where I was never with me to deal with me. Well, when I went to jail, there was a
deal with you.
Fuck. Dude, I thought I was going to lose my mind. As a matter of fact, I went down to the ward and said, I need some stuff for my mind because I'm going to fucking hurt you or hurt someone because I'm in a bad spot. And dude, that's when God, really got tight. I've always been close to God. Just different experiences of closeness along my experience of the things I have experienced. But for the first 3 months, dude, I hardly could not sleep. I had so much resentment and so much hatred, and because there was a lot of people in my life at that point that were reflective of me. The person who narked on me when I got my door kicked in. Number 2, the business partner that I had was a fucking huge narcissist and a big pain in my ass. It was really a really good reflection on me. Now, this is interesting. So check this out. I remember when I was partying all the time, I could be in a mall, 3,000 people. I would run into the one person doing the drugs I was doing at the time. How does this happen? It's vibrational. It's law of attraction. People don't know this and people don't think it's real. But look, it's real whether you like it or not. It is. Not only is it real, it's exacting specificity. If you have things showing up in your life, trust the fact that it's there because something, someone you're being is creating the experience. Period. Faster, I can be okay with that and look at the information, look at the people, circumstances, situations and events in my life. I mean, he drinks some water so my stomach doesn't.
Isn't it really quickly? Isn't it amazing how, especially drinking this fancy special water, that it'll just send that hunger down quick?
Yeah,
I try to tell people that, but they don't believe me.
yeah.
Okay, really quickly, if we had to sell this fancy water, what would be your one selling point on?
I'll tell you the story how it got sold to me.
Okay,
so let's do this real quick. I'm running another program for us. Let's see, what would you like to run? So, you want to run some energy stuff?
Sounds great.
All right, pay attention. We're going to run some energy stuff. So check this out. So back after I got out of jail, went back into personal training and stuff. And we had a gym over off of 35. And we had a lady. I mean, I actually had a lot of people being in the health space. You already know, people approach you all the time like, hey, you know what I mean? All this stuff. I'm like, fucking heard it all. And I'm like, well, you have not. And I'd always made a commitment. I tell people, look, question, what do you think the most expensive thing you could ever own is?
Oh, my house?
A closed mind.
Oh.
So
the cost, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Because I had a lady come to the gym. It's like, I got this water. It makes your water, makes your hydration better and all this stuff. I'm like, dude.
Come on now.
Come on. So this is when we were competing. So I did a show when I was 30, a physique show. I ended up winning a first place trophy, but this is right when that happened. So I said, all right, I'll go test out your water. Okay. So me and my business partner at the time went over to her house. All right, pay attention. It's running live. Went over to her house and dude, I was passed out in the passenger seat, asleep. That's how tired I was when we get to this lady's house. I get out of the car, get myself together, walk over to the front door. She gives me a little cup of water. I took a sip. I swear to you on my life, a second into my drink, my brain goes boom. Like I just did a huge rail or something. I'm like, what in the fuck was that? So I had no food, no water, no carbohydrates, no caffeine, no drugs, and was literally passed out 30 seconds ago getting out of the car. And it was like somebody just went boom and turned the lights on in my house. So I was like, okay, you got my attention. So I went inside, sat down, and she had a table, and there was about, let's just say like 7 different glasses of clear beverages out with the bottle of what it was, like clear Gatorade, clear Sprite, like that kind of stuff, right? So then she went through and she started pH testing these waters. Started with acidic, which is super orange, which is where most people function at. Most people are super acidic, which acidity just means lack of oxygen. Okay, lack of oxygen, we can't thrive without it, which is kind of weird too. Think about this. Oxygen also oxidizes us, which is kind of interesting too. Like, how could the very thing giving us life also kill us at the same time?
Right.
Kind of odd. So I wonder, because someone started making some stuff about hydrogen comments. I'm like, well, maybe we function more of hydrogen or something like that. So just a lot of interesting stuff. I personally am convicted we've been lied to about everything. So I trust nothing. I trust God and everything else. I have made a commitment. I was like, you know what? I literally, when I turned 30, I'm like, I got to start over with everything I know, because everything I've been taught is shit. Yeah. So I said, okay, well, what, as a spiritually designed human being committed to thriving, what's necessary to be able to thrive? Language. That's the first one. Language is 78%. Our communication, this is fascinating. This is NLP data, not Brian Johnson's theory or opinion. Communication is 7% words. And every spiritual teaching worth its salt will tell you the power of life and death exists in the tongue. I agree. And it's still only 7%. What's the other 93? 38% is tonality, upswings, downswings, that kind of stuff. 55% is body language. Foots, shoulders, foot patterns. And we'll talk about this stuff. We'll nerd out on some military body language in a minute if you choose to, because I got to tell you this, dude, we got a lot to talk about. We're going to have like, you got my mind thinking. But back to the body language piece, 7% is communication, 38% tonality, 55% is unconscious or other than verbal, which means itches, scratches like my nose or someone's pain or shoulder girdles or whatever. That means 93% of our communication is other than words. Think about that. Think about this. Our language is fucked. It has been designed by very conscious, unconscious people who knew exactly what they did. I shall give thee some examples. We have weekends and we have weekdays. When you remember this, our subconscious is 100% literal. Even though it's phonetically sounds the same, even though the spelling is different, the impacts are still efficient when it's a negatively used word consistently. Weekends, weekdays. I have strong ends now instead of weekends, okay? We also have when someone is awake, we would think, okay, well, they're conscious. Well, what's also at a wake? A funeral for a dead person.
Right.
Okay. Then you have someone where it's going to earn a living. Well, what's in an urn? Ashes of a dead person, right?
Right.
Our language is littered with this stuff. So a lot of what I did when I first started coming into this stuff is started getting into some of my coaches' stuff on Robert Tennyson Stevens. Like that's one of my main dudes when it comes to language. He is my main dude when it comes to language and body language. He is a profound genius when it comes to that kind of stuff. So I got into language heavily. I still do. Like you'll hear me say, I'll give you some examples. So I want. I'm not a religious person. I'm highly spiritual. And here's what I mean by that. I use scripture as codes and like quantum physics stuff. So I want is agreeing with not having. The scripture says, Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. So if we believe we're created in his or her image, God, wanting is impossible for God. Okay. So when we say I want, we're agreeing with not having it by our own free will. And here's how you can track it, right? And this is what I love about language, because when we start getting into this, your body's going to tell you whether it's in alignment or not. So when I say, and just we'll practice this. So say I want, and then say no, you're good. So I want, and then I choose, and just do it 3 times and just tune into yourself and pay attention. And let me know what you got. Get it.
I want, I choose. I want, I choose. I want, I choose.
We notice.
I notice that when I say I choose, there's more power behind it.
Drops down, boom, into your solar plexus. That's embodied. That's important. I want goes twink.
Yeah, it was very light. But when I say it was almost like I wanted to make like little fists. Like I was like, I choose.
You're claiming your power.
Right.
That's your words creating your experience. That's why words are such a big deal, because with the word, I can change my vibration by the second. And as I start eliminating wants and I have tos and all that kind of stuff, and I start getting those out and I start functioning with higher words consistently, I'm automatically raising my frequency of my being just by linguistics. And then when we start bringing in tools like Heelys and oils and waters and stuff like that, you start functioning on a much higher level. The hardest thing that I'm having about living in today's day and age is that the amount of people who are off their fucking rockers who have no idea what's going on. Like I don't hang around with, I'm by myself most of the time. I'm just not interested in being around most people, because most people are just, they're fucking unconscious, man.
Well, did that come on the more aware you got with yourself?
Yeah, the more work I do on me and the more...
Because I feel that.
Yeah.
And that it kind of makes me sad in some level, because like, you know, I do like having friends. I do like being around people. I like my girlfriend. I like my daughter. But like, I find me craving this time by myself.
Yeah, bro.
Because I feel like that I can't be my best person for anybody if I'm not claiming this time for myself. Is that?
Oh, yeah, 100%. Bro.
Okay, so I have a question.
Yep. Here you go.
Where?
Put it on your solar plexus. And you can smell it too. Like put it on your... Like your belly.
Oh, my actual belly?
Yep. And then you could also smell it too. These are always good to smell.
Because it's just another sense you're taking it in, right?
100%. The smell is a big deal. But this is the inner child one. Yeah, buddy. We're going to have a great time right now, my man.
All right. So
let's get it.
So, okay.
Yep.
I've had this question.
Mm-hmm. Let's do it. I like answering questions.
Do words matter?
Yeah.
So now hang on. So when I mean do words matter, it means when someone comes to you and they go, you're a fucking piece of shit, and you get mad about it, like that's you giving up that power to that person, you know, through those words. Yeah. So when I say do words matter, I understand what you're saying, like the way things are written in the way, the subconscious part of words. Yep. But how do words affect you when other people say words to you? Do you break them down? Do they affect you emotionally? Can they? Like, you know, if you and your girlfriend have to get in a a discussion about something. So how do you feel about words personally?
So, well, it really depends on the word. A lot of times, and this is the thing too, like the more secure I am with me, the less other people impact me.
And their words impact you, right?
And that's going to boil down to if I have stuff going on internally and someone says something and they are triggering what I have going on, then I might have a reaction. That's important because that means I got some work to do, because nothing that anyone should ever say
should fire you up.
That's 100% true.
Yeah. Because you just handed them over the keys to the car, right?
Plus, that means that their words should not impact me, because if it's not in alignment with who I be, then it doesn't matter. That's more than likely, and that's important. People are projecting a lot.
Yes.
Big, like, I didn't know what projecting meant for a long time, but here's for our peeps listening. Projecting is someone telling you something about yourself that they are doing themselves, and they're saying that it's your stuff. There's a lot of that going on. Like, here's an example. When people are talking, listen to this. People will say, you. I'm like, stop saying you. Say I. I'm, you know what I'm saying? Like, you're talking to me, like you're talking about yourself, but you're saying you like it's me. It's not me. Take responsibility for your communication. It's I am doing this, or I am feeling this.
Right.
Now watch how often that happens. This is the challenge with our language, because our language has got us so codependently intertwined with people. Linguistically is how it happens. That's the code. But people don't know that. Right. So anytime someone says you, if people would just start saying, like, to clean up communication, I is a big deal. Like, I notice I feel blank, or I feel sorrow, or I feel fear, or I feel anger. That conscious communication will allow someone to express how they feel without projecting what they feel onto who they're communicating with. That makes sense?
Yeah. Do you look back at a lot of your old, when you were training, like just a regular trainer, that the client was putting that everything on you? Like, you know, like you can, as a trainer, someone trains you through 3 hours a week. That's about all you control, right?
Yeah.
But they would always put it all on, or it's been put on me that, like, I'm responsible for your weight loss. I'm responsible for the food. I'm responsible for your bad habits. I'm responsible for your bad sleeping habits. And it's like, I know you came to me for help, but you have to do this, right?
That's why I find that personal training that's why I got out of it. It's like, it's very one-dimensional to go in here and invest an hour with someone, and I could do more than that in 15 minutes using body language and skill sets and stuff like that, and clean stuff up quicker and actually change it.
But once you changed it for them, it would be their responsibility to engage that and go use it, right?
Sure. I mean,
and so it's much easier just to go, like, it's like if I hand you all the tools and you still don't want to do the work.
When that happens, it's very simple, and this is a good theme for life for those committed to thriving. It's going to boil down to one thing: you either love yourself or you don't. If you love yourself, you're going to do what's necessary, even though you don't like it, because you know that's what you need to do to thrive. That's what they call discipline, right? If you know you're going to be in great shape, guess what? You got to do the things that put you in a great shape. And if you choose to be in great shape as simple as possible, that's all identity stuff. So I don't know if you've seen this. I've been 253 different times. And over the years, it has happened again because my identity was off, meaning I didn't change who I was being on a core level, or how I saw myself underneath the hood, meaning my default person that I saw myself as was not what I was consciously thinking I was being. I still had an image of me being out of shape, fat, and all this stuff, right? So over the years, this is why loving ourselves and having tools like body language and language to identify what we're feeling, because you could pull up your best experience like you're just in amazing shape, and if you're legit, meaning if your body is coherent with that, you will be in neutral. You might even feel amazing about it. But if it's not, you're going to have tension that's going to show up, that's going to tell you, oh, I've got some sorrow about this or some fear. Then we go back and find that original belief system, clean it up, done, and then we put a new one in.
Do you love yourself right now?
Yes.
Do you know what's so crazy is the person I met a long time ago, that guy, and through my eyes, loved himself, But like it was that very kind of like narcissistic love. It's like, look, I do this and I'm partying, blah, 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 whatever.
Yeah.
But I'm going to go out on a limb and say at that time you didn't love yourself.
I did not. I would have thought I was, but I did not know.
I think you thought you were too, because I think that's what sometimes people associate with like loving yourself, but it doesn't look that obvious.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, I feel like I can tell that you love yourself just based on your words and the interactions that we're having. But the way I saw you before loving yourself wasn't because of it was just the appearance of what you put
Visual.
out, covering up.
It's like facade-ish for sure. And here, let's talk about this because it's important, because today in our chat, I'm going to share some stuff with you if I haven't already that will transform your life if you do it. And here's the thing too, and this is priceless, okay? So let me tell you about this. First body language experience I had with my coach in Austin as my foot's doing its thing. So we're sitting in class, my coach, Robert Tennyson Stevens, we're in Austin, we're in a circle. And let's say you're my coach and we're all sitting in a circle, and there's a lady on my left that's talking to my coach, and we're all just listening. While they're talking, I'm scratching my arm big time. Like I had no comparison. I had nothing to compare it to. I just knew something was up. Okay. And I say, well, let's find out. So I get on the recess instead of a break. You don't want to break a recess. So we get on a recess, and that's a conscious language piece, like being aware of what we say and the true meaning that our subconscious takes it as is important. We'll talk about that more.
Saying positive words gives positive results, right?
100%. And just making sure that whatever feeling you marry with the word
is positive
is important, because I'll give you an example since we're talking about my coach. So my coach he has a book called Conscious Language, The Logos of Now, which is a goal of mine. It's masterysystems.com. The Logos of Now. He also has another one called My Word Made Flesh. Both of those are priceless resources. So my coach was talking about his friend. They were walking through a park doing something, and his friend was going through divorce at the time. Okay. So as they're talking, his friend's like really getting amped up and really getting into it. And at this point in time, they're about to step off of a curb, right? He says, man, I don't understand. And cancel clear. As soon as he steps off that curb and he says, I don't understand, his leg, pow. I don't stand under is what he was saying. And he had a lot of negative feeling with it and enough emotional experience going on. Snap. Now, this is important. I've blown out half my left bicep because I had stuff going on in my relationship for 3 days. I was fucking hot about it. I didn't change it. I was holding on to it. And then I went and did some boxing by myself on my punching bag in my garage and fold up my bicep. I've blown out my left groin, stuff in my relationship, gotten into 2 car wrecks, stuff in my relationship. The point is, whenever you got stuff going on, especially the more conscious you become and the more responsible you are knowing the truth and knowing the rules of the game, you have less time to make the adjustment before you have some adverse or some feedback that shows up. The severity of it is going to be totally indicative of the quality of the emotion. Like if it's anger, rage, frustration, you need to be careful, because that means broken bones and car wrecks and stuff like that. The law of attraction is very real. This is why it's important for people to know their checkpoints on their body, so they know if something's active, they can change it. Because a lot of times, I mean, you also could vouch for this. I have been a master at thinking I felt amazing when totally I was fucking way off my rocker and was just convinced myself into thinking otherwise, but that was not the truth.
Right.
Okay. So as we're tracking body language, that'll help us get clear on what the truth is. And then this is back to the whole loving part. So we're in class, scratching my arm. Everyone's listening. I'm like, maybe I should go ask my coach about this. So on the recess, I walk over to my coach. I'm like, hey, Bob. And I'm scratching my arm. I'm like, what does this mean? 4 words out of my mouth. Brian, how long have you had a death wish? I wasn't even mad. After I picked my jaw off the ground, I was
sure,
like,
yeah,
I got to know how to do this. What did he do? Well, this is language, okay? So here's what happened. So he goes, what I said, and this is why language is so important. I said, I don't want to be scratching my arm like this. To the normal lay person, okay, no big deal. Where'd you get that from? I don't want to be on planet Earth is the linguistical code for the skilled listening.
Mm-hmm.
Once you get that code, You can track it and change it. That's how he picked up, I don't want to be here on the planet. My body was telling him. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Now, also, too, my left bicep here, this is also feminine side. Okay, bicep is about me. It's also connected to stomach, which is sorrow stuff. And at this point in time, it was my relationship because he asked me, do you love yourself? I said, of course I do. That's not yes. And my head didn't say yes. And this is how you can track. When you ask yourself, go in front of the mirror, and we'll track today if you choose to. Go in the mirror and just say to yourself, I love myself. My head says yes. My voice dropped down into my stomach, so I know I'm on point. Now, look, it's not a one and doneer. Because I fucking love myself on Monday, don't mean Tuesday is going to be fucking gung-ho, you know what I'm saying?
Sure.
So I need to check in where I'm at, and if I'm out of alignment, I need to be able to track that instantly. Like, I have an alarm that goes off every 15 minutes. It's just a sound. It's not annoying. I mean, if I'm in a meeting or something, it won't happen,
Okay.
but right? But the whole purpose of it is for me to track what I'm doing. Like what I'm telling you. So here's what will happen. I will track number one, if I'm breathing from my chest, that instantly tells me I got some work to do. Instantly, whether I do anything else or not. A lot of times what I'll also do when I have that thing going, we'll do this today if you choose to, and it'll be good for your listeners. If you choose to, we'll set up a nitrous button or a resource anchor. So I have installed the button here. It's an NLP tool that I have probably 1,000 positive experiences on there. So when I smash that button, it releases all those chemical endorphins in my body to change my state or heighten it even more, right? It's called a resource anchor. So every 15 minutes, I'll smash that thing, and I'll even think about smile. Like, I'll tell you this too, because y'all can do this. I call it a conscious heart breath. So I will think about taking my nose and my mouth off my face. I'll put it on my heart, left side. I will imagine breathing in through my mouth and my face. It's on my heart, and I will smile with my heart. It is impossible for me to be in a shitty, inauthentic mood and to smile from my heart. Ain't gonna happen. It might take me 2 or 3 times for me to finally sync up and get it. But once I smile here, it's coming with my face after that. Okay. This gets me into my gear, gets me into my zone. It also gets me into where I'm consciously breathing from my heart, which is really what we're looking to do to get us out of our head and into our body. Right. So I literally will track where I'm breathing from. If I need to use ABRA, I will. ABRA is just awareness, breathe, release, recode, appreciate. It's a system I created to be able to help someone and myself remember, like, okay, when I'm out of alignment, what do I do? Okay, ABRA. A is awareness. Okay, where am I tight? And here, use this. And this is important. I use this a lot. So for those of you listening and really committed to the game, use this and write this down and say it frequently. It's very simple. I give myself permission to feel my feelings, and it's okay. And I choose to make this fun and easy. That code right there will keep me in the game. It will also keep my emotional body to a much more favorable state versus getting into, so apathy is I can't, this is too hard. A lot of that going on. When people have lymphatic issues, snotty noses, allergies, this is important. So check this out. So one morning I was at the gym at 5 a.m. and I did not want to be there. And I was doing the elliptical the whole time, and I'm just bitching and complaining in my mind. And dude, my nose, both nostrils is running off my face. And I've done a lot of drugs in my past. I've never had a nose run this in my life. So my nose is running. I'm just going, this sucks. Why am I doing this? Just all the things. And finally I'm like, shut up. I shut my mind off, and I'm like, dude, what's the deal? Bro, as soon as I had the idea, I didn't even say it verbally. As soon as I had the idea to say, I choose to make this fun and easy, I got the eye out and my nose stopped running instantly. Both of them, like it never happened. Here's the point. The word becomes flesh. That is legit. When someone has stuff that starts showing up, there has been some type of word, thought, and feeling crystallized that has created the experience. So once I can go through and catch the word code, and then I can bring in the opposition or the counter part to that, the positive side, I can rewire the code instantly, and my body will tell me, my nose will stop running, right? Or the thing will go away or whatever. And dude, I've never had it not work. I've seen miracle after miracle after miracle after miracle happen with my coach doing this stuff, with people's eyesight coming back to hearing, like just crazy stuff. And it's legit. It's real.
So let's rewind a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we went through a lot of that.
The guy that went to jail, would he have been as scared of you?
Scared of me?
Scared in the sense of like how how real you are with yourself, like how pulled together you are, would like it be intimidating to that guy? Like, so if you met your old self now and you knowing how you were when you went when you went to jail, how would that interaction between the person you are now and that person have been?
I don't think it would have been a fearful interaction, because I've always been committed to self-mastery, just always. I mean, I made that commitment early in life, and I didn't really care what it cost me, really. I think it more so would have been a part about being open-minded and realizing that I needed emotional tools, because at this point in time, I had no emotional tools. Like most people don't. Like, we're not taught about what I call the 3 F's: food, feelings, and finances, for a reason, right? So emotional tools is absolutely, I mean, in my experience and opinion at this point in time, if someone has no emotional tools, like that's an uphill losing battle.
And that guy didn't have any of that.
None. I mean, I didn't even know those even existed, to be honest. You know, nor did I I have always done personal development stuff, but I didn't know anything about identities and being able to rewire and recode an identity, because that's really what it is. I mean, a person is who they are, good, bad, or indifferent, because of what they are unconsciously committed to on a default identity level, right? So until we can identify and go through the different areas and say, okay, well, how do I identify myself as what? Is it my highest choice or is it not? Got to go through them and rewire all that stuff. And that just takes time, and it takes tools.
So you sitting here now, who was that guy in jail? What were his problems? Like, if you were going to work with him as a client, what would you have done for him at that? Like, what do you recognize now about who you were then that you probably didn't recognize then, I guess, is kind of what I'm asking.
I mean, the amount of drugs and stuff I was doing then was an escape. Like, if I do stuff now, it's for spiritual enhancement. It's not for really so much of escaping stuff. You know what I mean? So it's just a totally different external versus internal. Like, then I was partying, doing lots of drugs, having lots of other experiences, so to speak. And I was more interested in lower chakra feeling world, which is sex, money, rock and roll, drugs, and all that. Now, as we elevate our spiritual awareness and our consciousness, our energy is going to rise up our body to where we get into our heart, and then we get into our throat, and then we get into our higher kingdom, which is Christ consciousness stuff. As I start elevating that stuff, I don't have the desire to do the things that I used to. So, I mean, really, the whole dark night of the soul thing is real. It's a real thing. People are going through it. And a lot of times it's not just one time. It might be multiple different times going through as we're elevating and growing through old things. I think a lot of it is just trusting, is being patient. It's being able to forgive myself and love myself. If I really had to theme it out, I give myself permission to forgive myself, and I recommit to loving me. That's important, because if that's off, everything is off. And when you get in front of the mirror, and if you do the whole I love myself, your body's going to tell you, your head's going to say, and if it happens, if it's a no, your head's going to say no quick, but you got to catch it. Same thing too, like when you're cruising down the road and you're being with yourself, when you're talking and doing things, your body's going to tell you, it's going to say yes or it's going to say no. So that way you can use your body to tell you, because that's a 93% that's operating the show. Right. So if that part's off, it's all off. Like, inner child stuff is a big deal. I mean, I cry more as a grown adult than I ever did as a kid.
Well, I was thinking about that, the person, I mean, I think this is a fair statement. The person I remember didn't seem like a very emotional person. Right.
I didn't really
I think, like, in the form, like, I had you fill out, I asked, like, when's the last time you cried? And you were like, I cry every day.
Pretty much. Not from a negative aspect, but more like gratitude, appreciation, and things like that. Or if I feel things really strong, because I'm very in tune with nature. And like, I save earthworms and snails and turtles and all kinds of stuff. So I'm very connected with that kind of stuff. But if I have stuff come through, like, there's no holding it back and hiding it. It's just, here we go.
I mean, but like, I'm assuming you had to give yourself permission to have emotions, because it's not like you didn't have them when you were younger, right?
100%. Every time, a lot of times as we grow older, we get adulted, and people have been conditioned out of feeling their feelings, which in essence is really your powerhouse. I work with quite a few military people, one of my former Navy SEAL commanders and stuff like that. Those guys have been wired out of their emotions. You know what I mean? And a lot of them, when they come back from doing their thing, have a real hard time integrating back into life and to experience because they've been so out of touch with that stuff. And I mean, they obviously do that for a certain reason. But at the same time, I mean, if you're really committed to thriving, the more in tune you can get with what you feel is going to be not only helpful for you, but also the people that are in your life, because people in our life are expressing to us who we are being, especially those closest to us, because our relationships, check this out, our relationships is a direct expression of our unconscious mind. So especially people close to you, daughters, wives, girlfriends, boyfriends, all that kind of stuff, those relationships are an expression of our unconscious mind. So meaning they are doing behaviors that we are doing that we are unaware of. So when we get triggered by something, this is a good one. So whenever I get triggered by my partner or someone close or anyone really, I'll ask myself, what is my teacher attempting to teach me? That information is powerful because it allows me to elevate myself out of the situation, still in it, but just different perspective where I'm not emotionally attached to it. And then I can say, oh, what are they teaching me? What am I noticing? Okay, what am I feeling? Okay, where at? And then I go through my ABRA part. Track here, track here, track here. Because when you're triggered, next question is, okay, well, where do I feel that at? Like an example, a lot of times people talk about anxiety. It's kind of like a mental mind fuck. The challenge is you can't solve anxiety. You can solve fear, but you can't solve anxiety. Anxiety is here. Fear is a feeling on your body. So when you have anxiety, ask yourself, where do I feel it? And I'll give you my chart for free and just use my text number. So when you have the chart and you're able to start tracking on your body, you know, well, I'm feeling anxious. Okay, well, where do I feel it? Oh, I feel it in my chest or I feel it in my stomach. Okay, that's fear. Then all we do is I give myself permission to feel my fear, which is the release, and it's okay. And I choose to love my fear into my courage and my faith. That's the recode. That will shift it. The thing will go away. Your stomach will relax. Your breathing will shift and your state will change. That's how you can go from anxiety, drilling it down to the feeling, which is fear, and then shifting it quickly.
Yeah. Where was the model of a no emotions model for you? Like, was it like your mom and dad? Like, were they not emotional like people? No. Or like, I mean, like what? So, I mean, because that probably, I would guess that was probably somewhat either a learned behavior or a survival type behavior to show no emotion, right?
Yeah, both. I mean, I don't think it was really my intention of not showing emotion. It just was more suppressed under a lot of X and drugs. So a lot of it was for protection, security, and just not knowing. I think it just at 20 and 25 and 26 is just where I was on my journey. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think that's important too, because I mean, I'm 45 now. So back then I just really was just part of evolution. I mean, the only thing that can help that is time and experiences and being willing to process and clean up what we are experiencing, right?
Yeah.
Rather than just drugging it up and not dealing with it and hiding from it and stuff like that. So I think that that's really the big one, is being open-minded to being just where you're at and letting it be okay, and just making your best conscious decisions and choices from that moment forward. And as you do that, and as you start with that mindset, you will start to have that, like the old saying is when the student is ready, the teacher will appear, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Those things that kind of all happen as I look back. It's only hindsight, though. Right. I can't tell you that, you know what I mean? Looking back now, I can look at, okay, all these things here have helped me to get to this place. So I would change nothing for sure. I mean, I'm just grateful to be alive, because I did my best to get out of here a long time ago, and I was pretty successful at it almost a few times. But just being able to go back through and rewire all that stuff and just take all my experiences and shift them into stuff that's useful, because everything that we have, I mean, really what we're here for, in my opinion, is to learn and to grow. That's why, I mean, Earth, apparently this is the shittiest existence. That's exciting, huh?
Well, you were put in this creative space to create, right? And that comes in through learning and growing.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel about strangers' opinions? about you? Like if a stranger says something to you about you, do you look at it as an opportunity to analyze yourself to see if you've picked up a bad habit or if you're doing something? Or do you just dismiss it as like maybe they just don't know you?
It depends on the stranger. It depends on how I'm feeling in the moment. Because if it's a stranger and they offer a feedback, I'll pay attention to it. But generally, like, here's what I mean by stranger for me. Stranger is generally a jackass who comes on my TikTok live or wherever I'm at and starts spewing off bullshit that doesn't know me. He has, with no image, right? No followers. Like, that's different. I just delete those people instantly because I know that those people, and this is interesting too. So I know for me, when I'm in my game and I am congruent with me, I will have none of those people show up. But when I'm having dialogue with me or I'm off and something's going on,
they'll show up.
I'll have those things show up.
But you have to be super aware to notice that, right?
100%.
Because I've never thought about that. If I make a post on social media and then somebody comments on it, that's, like a jackass or whatever.
Yeah.
I've never taken stock of how I was doing that day.
Do it.
That's great. That's crazy.
Yeah. Because here's the thing. I mean, the value of that's priceless because it further reinforces like, I am truly creating my experience. So Kevin Trudeau, I love the guy. He's got some amazing information. One of the best things that I use from him is how could I feel even better now? That's important because how we are feeling is vibrationally what is attracting people, circumstances, situations, and events. And when I know that, and I can focus on feeling as enthusiastic, as grateful as possible, my vibe is doing the heavy lifting for me.
Mm-hmm.
But when it's not, why do you think there's so much propaganda on negative stuff? Because our feelings is what's creating it.
Right.
So disengaging from all that stuff and making sure that you don't qualify certain experiences with negative stuff, being in love, like there's a tremendous amount of value to that because that will offset and ride out anything less than that. So that's why us being able to control our vibe, and that's a lot of times why I'm by myself because when I'm around people, I feel that stuff. When I'm around going to location or restaurants and stuff like that, I will feel people's stuff. Like sometimes I've had experiences where I go into a public place and immediately will feel something on my chest. That's where fear shows up. That means something got on me. When that happens, I'll say to myself, Brian, is this yours? If it's not, it'll peel off, blink, and go away.
I've never thought of it. Like I've had that experience. Like I feel like I can feel people's stuff, right? And I'll go into rooms and then I'll start to feel something. Mm-hmm. But I've never thought of it as like somebody else's shit getting on me. I've always thought of it as like it was mine. You know what I mean? And so that's such a weird thing to
That's important.
To recognize whether it's mine or not.
100%. Because think about this, bro. Think about how many people have had mom and dad stuff their entire life and realize it wasn't even theirs. Because here's a challenge, okay? So when we're younger in age, we operate on different brain waves, delta wave early in life, and delta is like a sponge. Man, you can take in everything with no filters. That means if you're getting information from your mom or your dad and there's no critical faculty filter on there, you don't even question it.
Right.
It's just coming aboard. So a lot of times that's what it is growing up is rewiring all of that stuff from mom and dad and experiences like that to be able to change it.
I try to be very aware of who I am around my daughter because I don't want her to pick up my shit. But I'm kind of, based on what you're telling me, there is a level of my responsibility of that, but it also sounds like there might not be nothing I can do about of certain stuff she does pick up because if I'm not aware of picking up other people's stuff, I don't know if she would be aware of picking up other people's stuff.
I'll tell you this though too. So as you're doing work, like as you're cleaning up your own stuff, she will also get it too, which is fascinating.
I've noticed that, you know what I mean? Because like, I'm really big on like, please and thank you and you're welcome with her and blah, blah, blah. And now she does it to everybody. She does it back to me. I do it back to her.
Yeah.
Erin will, she'll leave out the please and thank you every once in a while. And Lucy will like kind of, so it's just affecting it's affecting everybody, which is really cool.
Dude, get it in while you can, bro. Cause I remember my daughter's 16 now and she is not near as open-minded as what she used to be. So this is interesting. So Gary, you familiar with Gary Keller?
No.
Gary Keller is the owner, one of the owners of Keller.
Oh, okay.
So he has a book called The One Thing.
Oh, you know what? I've heard about this book before, though. Yeah. Now that you mentioned that, yeah, I've heard the book before.
Get it? It's useful, valuable information. The next piece is this, though. So I was at an event with his called Empire Builder. It's been quite a few years ago now, but there's probably about 400 people in this room. And he says, "Hey, how many of y'all have kids?" 70% of people raise their hands, right? He goes, "All right, listen to this." He goes, "A lot of people think you have 18 years with your kid. It's not true.
6
or 7.
That's it.
So what happens is, like, right now, you don't have little kids over. You don't have other people. You know, you have solitude time where you can share information that's not really going to get questioned or rejected.
Right.
So if you're talking fundamental values and belief systems of God and things like that, like, those are prime ages to be able to help someone with that information, because there's old sayings by demented people says, "Give me a boy till age 7 and I'll show you the man he becomes." Like, there's a tremendous amount of truth to that, because kids are like sponges at that age. And if you hardwire them that early in life, you're going to have a hard time breaking it, even if they're interested in doing it later. Right? So I have a list of stuff that I would share with my daughter that I think would be useful for her, and just keep that in mind, because as you're going about your time, I mean, last year my daughter started driving, and I used to take my daughter to school and pick her up. And that was really the only time, 5 minutes here, 10 minutes here, where it's just uninterrupted. You know what I mean? So keep that in mind. Consider making a list of things that you feel would be important to empower a spiritually designed human being in today's day and age, of what will be necessary to help someone thrive. To make that list and start sharing that information with them now while they're young, so that it's embedded as they start going through life and getting influenced from other people and start giving a shit what other people think. And it's just because they're going to go through interesting phases. Right. So we had Riley in karate, and she got a black belt in karate and jiu-jitsu early in life. She does it now. She does mostly all dance stuff, but just putting them in something like that. And I don't like the word self-defense. I like the word self-empowerment, because when I'm thinking self-defense, I'm automatically thinking of being victimized. And if you think about it, that's how we've been taught. Like, anytime someone thinks about being attacked, it's not them attacking someone. It's usually them being victimized, right?
Right.
That's important, because that's how we've been wired. So being able to change that stuff and being able to empower someone with skill sets so they do feel confident, and if they do need to take care of themselves, they can. I think everybody should have to know that.
I like putting her in a martial arts is something, because I've been interested in doing it myself.
Do it.
And so putting her into one, like, I was like, well, maybe she gets a little bit, or we could do it together, you know, like go at the same time or whatever.
Do it.
But, you know, already just recently we went to the Y to look around, and they have this huge playscape. And like, I was like, oh, I can come work out and you can play. And she was like, yeah. And I was like, oh man, we're already making these bonds of doing these kinds of things, you know. Do you find that with your clients, like, you do a lot of teaching them how to give themselves permission to do things, like giving them permission to be sad, giving them permission to be mad, and going, okay, you have this feeling, and now we're gonna solve it, or what? Like, that people don't give themselves permission enough to be. Does that? Maybe I didn't word that right.
Yeah, 100 people are not being.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And so, like, I guess what I'm asking is, like, do you find yourselves teaching your clients how to give themselves permission to do things?
Yeah. I mean, you said I give myself permission a lot. I use that probably 20 times a day. I give myself permission to forgive myself. I give myself permission to feel my feelings. I give myself permission to love myself. All of it. And I like permission because it bypasses my gatekeeper, which is my ego.
Right.
Instantly. And that's really the name of the game, because when we're using new commands, like the stuff that we're doing and wiring new statements, the idea is for my body to take it instantly on number one. And I'm going to show you a little trick, because you can do this with yourself, and especially with your little one too. So look straight ahead with your face. Keep your face still. You're going to keep your eyeballs just on your left shoulder. So we'll do a couple of them. So I give myself permission to feel my feelings, and it's okay. Use that one.
I give myself permission to feel my feelings, and it's okay.
That eye trick is going to put you into your body instantly. So when you say something, you're going to feel it. That's the point, because how you can tell if your body engages, your body is like, we're moving forward, you got to feel it. So if you, like a dog, if you tell a dog no, and you're not, no, there's a difference. Like my daughter, we have a pit bull and he's pretty stubborn. And my daughter was learning how to work him. I was like, look, you got to mean it. You can't say no. He's not going to respond. You got to say no and feel it. That way he will respond. That's the same way with ourselves. So when I'm saying something, I love myself. My body, my feet set up. My body went drop down in my stomach. So that's instant information to confirm that or validate it or tell me no. Like sometimes your head's going to pop off. It's going to be a quick one. It won't be like boing like that. It might just be doink that fast, but it's there. And watch this. Watch how often you're talking to people and the whole time they're talking, their head's doing this. Doesn't mean they're lying. I just asked some more questions.
Well, I noticed something. You do something that I think that I do, and I'm kind of doing it right now. When I'm like tapped into my brain, when I'm really thinking about what I'm saying, I look off or I'll look in a position or something like that. And you'll be talking to me and you'll get on one of your roles where you're telling me information and you'll just go like kind of like this when you're talking to me. Why do you do that? Why do we do
so
that?
I'll tell you. So in NLP, there's eye positions where you are getting information, right? So up and to the left is visual, it's seeing. Down and to the left is audio, digital, like thinking, feeling. It's also kinesthetic. So anytime you're down here, kinesthetic is in your body, right? Anytime you're up, that's going to be visual. So when I'm up and to the right, this is creating, like I'm thinking about what I'm going to say creatively here, right? And then if I go down here, this is in my body. Or if I go down over here to the left, that's going to be remembering. So they all have different pieces of function. And if you get really good at it, when people are talking, you can track where they're going. So you know how they're storing information or where they're getting it from. Like, okay, he's going visual. So maybe I say, hey, well, how do you feel about that? I wouldn't say how you feel about that because that would be body.
Right.
He's like visual, like, okay, do you see that? Do you get the vision here? And like that would be words that you could use that will cater to where they're accessing information for better rapport.
Yeah.
But all you're doing is just your body's doing its thing and it's just retrieving information and figuring out ways to communicate more effectively. You can also use that. Here's an example. You can use that to store information. Example. So let's say you got a name or a phone number of something that you need to remember. An example is when I would go downtown to see my social media guy, there was a lady, like the head janitorial lady, she told me her name. I couldn't remember to save my life. And finally, I'm like, oh my God, I got to remember this. So I was there talking to her and I just remembered this. I just got out of my NLP class. So I got a master's in NLP and I use like 3 things of it because body language and language has never not worked.
Right.
Okay. It's crazy. So when you're storing a name, what you do is look up to the left and you store it as Yoima. Okay. So I look up there, I say Yoima, I'll see it. Okay. Fast forward 2 weeks later, I go back downtown again and I see my friend down the other end of the hall. I'm like, oh, fuck, what's her name? What's her name? What's her name? What's her name? That's another thing. Always ask yourself, what's her name? What's her name? I've had this experience where I met someone at 24-hour one time, like 7 years later, I saw him in the mall. I know that face. Another thing. What's her name? What's her name? Got up right up to him like, oh, hey, such and such. Like, oh my God, you remember her name? I was like, yeah, it took me a minute, but I figured it out. Okay. Yeah. So the point is you can store the information up there. So fast forward, I see the lady, I see her down at the end of the thing and I'm getting up there. I'm like, what is her name? Finally, I'm like,
retrieve it?
Yoima.
Yeah. You retrieved it from there, right?
100%.
Yeah.
So you can track phone numbers. There's a buddy of mine named Ron White. He's the memory champ of the world. This dude remembered like 2,000 freaking names of soldiers that had passed in war.
That's crazy.
And wrote them all out. Like mind-boggling. This dude's a genius. He can teach you how to do it. But here's what I'll give you a little trick. So you could use this room. You could store a thing in every little spot you have on here, like, oh, the light means this, or this thing means this, but you can put a thing or an image or a name on the location. So if you need to remember a bunch of things, like if you're doing a presentation and you have like 10 points, you could go into a room, find your 10 points on the wall, store your points on there, and then just go and retrieve them as you're going along your presentation. Just remember them by storing them in the location.
And you just pull it from that location.
Yeah. It's pretty fascinating.
That's cool.
It's great. So Yoima. So you can also do that too if you're reading and you're interested in visualizing it. Like if, let's say you're doing like a prone plank, like you're laying down face first and you're reading a book, just chilling up here, right? Mm-hmm. I could put my book up to the left just a little bit So that way I'm looking up here and it will help me to visualize something. Here's what I like even better. So when I'm using these things here, like my little decrees, or I have my book right here and I'm using my I am statements, I will use these down to the left, because when I'm down here to the left, that's what we just did. It's going to put me into my body. So I'm going to feel what I'm saying.
Right.
So when I'm using this type of information, that's exactly what I'm interested in doing, because these are like I am statements like this right here. The mighty I am presence is always the only governing intelligence here. That's an example, right? So when I have my eye trick down to the left, interesting hiccup. So if you get a hiccup, it means we've taken in something energetically or physically. All you're going to say is, I give myself permission to forgive what I've taken in energetically or physically. And there it goes. And it'll stop. Crazy. If you ever get a burp is resentment. Pay attention to what you're thinking about when you burp, because it's instant. It's instant. So when you're thinking about something that your body's like, not so much, you'll have a burp. And that'll tell you, oh, I've got some resentment towards this thing I'm talking about, right? So the little eye trick is great. If you have certain things that you're remembering, or if you're like, I love myself, or you're rewiring that type of stuff, eyeball on your left shoulder, but make sure your face is straight ahead. Eyeball on your left shoulder, say it. It's going to put you into your body. That way you feel it instantly. Because you don't have to do a vain repetition of something. Like if you have a decree or you have something specifically that you're hardwired, if you say it one time and feel it, you don't need to say it 50 times. One time with feeling and meaning it is going to far supersede a gazillion times just rattling it off and not feeling it at all. Makes sense?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Very simple. There's an app I use too called Think Up. Think Up, like think with your brain and then up, UP. Powerful, powerful, powerful. I can get 1,000 repetitions of something in about 3 hours. But now with Think Up, what I do is I take the things that I'm hardwiring, whatever stuff I'm putting in there, and you can hashtag it, like hashtag best self or hashtag decrees or hashtag dad stuff, whatever. And then you can go listen to that one hashtag with all the different things. But here's where it gets better. What I'll do is I'll take my favorite songs. Like I like house and trance and stuff like that with not a lot of words, but I like the beats. Mm-hmm. I'll buy the song, pay the artist, upload the song into my Think Up app, and merge the song with my voice and listen to my own stuff. That way, instead of listening to the shitty music that's on, I can listen to what I like with the beats, raise my vibe, and then hardwire all the stuff I'm changing to rewire my identity.
Did you notice that stuff changing when you started changing yourself?
What?
Like, I've noticed in the last year, I've really got to listen like classical music mm-hmm. and not want to listen to things with words mm-hmm. or just want to listen like just words, just people talking, not. And like, I do listen to regular music still, but I'm more interested a lot of times in just sounds and noises and.
Yeah, let's talk about it, because I think this is important that people need to know. And a lot of people don't know this. So this is where it gets interesting. So do you know there's a second sun in our atmosphere right now?
No.
We need to do some R&D on this, and we'll talk about it here. It's important for people to know. So there's a second sun in our atmosphere called Nibiru, or Planet X, also termed as wormwood in the scriptures and Revelation, okay? It's also the return of every 3,600 years, the sun comes back into our experience, which is a planet, a spaceship, and a sun at the same time. It's called the purifier. As this sun comes, our sun also is having CMEs, or coronal mass ejections, which is just holes in the sun. Mm-hmm. The government will tell you, okay, well, you need to make sure you stay out of the sunlight. That's not the case. You need to get out in the sunlight. That's why they're trying to cover it up. Because as the sun's pouring out more light, it's pouring out more consciousness to the planet. That's why it's also getting darker, because all the dark shit's coming up because we're passing through it, and it's got to come up to transmute it. Right. Okay. So for us to stay in love, because it's going to get pretty chaotic here before too long. People don't know. Most people have no fucking idea what's going on. The sun coming is going to raise the heat up. It's going to make it crazier because the planetary is going through its evolution or ascension process. So you have the sun pouring out more light, which for you and I, people who are like, okay, I feel some things going on. Like I've cut out 98% of my meat. I mostly only eat fruits. I fast all the time now. I drink minerals and stuff like that. I got some for us too. Yeah, minerals and stuff like that too. But a lot of my original old operating ways of being. Like when I was competing or back when we used to hang out, I was eating 6 meals a day, 7 days a week of meats.
Isn't that crazy?
I don't eat, no, I mean, what I'm uncovering and really coming into, and this is what most people are, some people just might have a conscious understanding of what's going on. As we're raising from 3-dimensional, 4th-dimensional, 5th-dimensional beings, which is what's happening right now, most people ain't going to make the shift because they have done none of the work.
Right.
They're not going to have the neurological capacity to take the juice from the sun and to be able to harness it and use it because their neurological hardware has not been upgraded, or they have toxins and metals or jabs and stuff going on in there that's completely in opposition to that. Okay. So a lot of what I'm doing now is detoxification, like using zeolite and disodium EDTA and stuff like that, and just drinking it throughout the day in my stuff, taking showers or baths with borax and Epsom salt and baking soda and stuff like that to also clean out nanotech and stuff like that from all the things. What's going on is the sun is ramping up, and you can research all this stuff. Look up Planet X and Nibiru first. And then also too, the earth is also ramping up. So are you familiar with the Schumann resonance?
Probably not.
Schumann resonance is just a fancy word for the earth's heartbeat. It's a 7.8, which is roughly how we function. Okay. It is critical for us to be in sync with the Mama Earth, Pachamama or Mama Kai, or, you know, whatever you want to call it. There's different things. Just call it Earth for the, now this is interesting too. Earth in cipher code is heart. America is I am race.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We are in the Holy Land. We are in Atlantis. We are in Egypt. We are in Babylon. Okay, like this is what the Bible is talking about. Old school stuff is talking about us, the U.S. today, which is kind of crazy. Okay, so you have all the energies from the earth ramping up. The earth's been getting into 100, which is a lot. So something that could be useful for you and for your peeps is a grounding mat. Like all my bracelet, my necklace is all technology. So this has stones inside of it that are grounding stones. This also has stuff on it too. So I'm constantly got something on to mitigate what's going on. Also too, as the earth is rising up, people need to be grounded. So I have a grounding mat that I stand on at my desk. I used to have a grounding sheet. Didn't like it because I kind of got sweaty on it. But what I did is I still have the grounding coils and stuff. So I have a grounding bracelet. So I take the bracelet and just snap the thingy on it and just sleep with that thing. So if I need to get up and go pee or whatever, just take it off and then put it back on. It's simple, but here's the point. With the earth undergoing the changes as much as it is imperative for us to be able to stay
connected,
grounded to the planet, to offload the stuff, but also upload the new stuff. I can tell you when I started doing that, I was sleeping deeper, but I also started noticing I was more flexible like 2 days after that, which tells me my inflammation levels are going down. Okay.
Yeah.
So grounding is a big deal. Getting sunlight is a big deal. Sun gazing is a big deal. Whatever you do, I love grapefruits. Make sure you don't eat grapefruits and then go out in the sun. If you're going to do it, don't. Grapefruits are great for helping with cancer, but they're also amazing for helping people get skin cancers in certain ways. Now, this interesting thing, let's talk about that. So I do know for a fact that the grapefruit will increase the UV connection or the UV absorption of your body, because when I ate them, I went outside to test it out. My eyes started getting super red right here in the cracks of my eyes quick, so I could tell if something was in there. I was going to tell you, I started eating a lot of fruits because those are direct sunlight. Those are higher coded foods, because you start getting into 4th and 5th dimensional beings. In my opinion and experience, you cannot resurrect a spiritually designed body eating dead animal flesh.
No.
It's not going to happen. Okay. So I have really intuitively been guided to start pulling it out. I feel better. I eat way less food. I don't have to knock off animals. And if I still eat some on occasions, I'll have eggs generally if I do. But in that, I like mushrooms, eat a lot of fruit.
Was that a natural evolution?
Yeah.
Because so this is what's really hitting me weird is you've obviously done a lot of work and research around all this stuff, but the more I've taken control of my life and about what I put into my body and all this stuff, a lot of these things are happening for me naturally. Like the proof is there. Like you've researched it all, but like I'm just kind of doing it and these things are happening. So it's like, you know, to the point where like I eat meat, but I don't eat it that often. You know what I mean? And like I like just having salads or vegetables, fruit. I love that kind of stuff, you know? And so it's just really weird how, I don't know, that like, I guess when you start kind of working on yourself, a lot of this stuff just feels natural and falls into place.
Yeah, because we're functioning in our higher self. As we're functioning in our higher self is naturally going to express. And when we're intuitively connected, we allow ourselves to naturally express because we follow what feels good for us. Our cravings change.
Do you love fasting now?
I do.
Well, you said that kind of like you pause, like.
So let's talk about it for a second. I do love fasting because I can cut down the resources that I need with the amount of shit they're pumping in our food is less susceptible of me taking in the toxins because now they're recalling frozen strawberries and shit because they're putting hepatitis A. And I'm like, these motherfuckers are ridiculous. So, I mean, it's fucking seriously, it fucking pisses me off is what it does. So I'm basically conditioning myself into being a breatharian where I can live on water if needed and sunlight. This is what my outcome is because when we get to fifth dimensional beings, you may not even need to eat.
Right.
So what I'm doing is getting myself to express from a level where I don't need to eat. That's my outcome. It's possible. People are doing it. The more stress we undergo and the more evolution happens, it's going to happen. It's just part of the process, right? So I am consciously focused on needing as little resources as possible to function in our current experience because of the amount of toxicity and shit being pumped in our food. Now, people interested in that outcome are going to need to do some work. For sure, because they got to be able to clean up their emotional stuff, clean up things going on, so their body will function on that level of a DNA expression. But here's the thing, too. We're going from a 2-strand to a 12-strand. That's a lot. That's like going from a freaking monkey idiot to a superhuman, super soldier, super like avatar, like one of those people, you know what I mean?
Right.
This is what's going on right now. Most people ain't going to make it because their body has not been conditioned to support that type of energy influx. So that's why eating salads, eating fruits, getting sunlight, grounding our body helps to connect and to rewire our DNA to be able to hold that type of light because that's what's going on. So that's why I've been really adamant about fasting and detoxing and eating clean foods. And now, look, dude, I still have pizzas.
Yeah, I mean,
you know what I mean?
I know you're not sitting over here being perfect,
No.
but you've minimized the stuff that could harm you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you're a human living in the United States. You're probably going to eat a pizza.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? But like,
Once a week.
when you minimize the things like that you take in, it just makes sure you're that much closer to being that much better.
100%.
Right.
So, and I think that it's important to be able to start doing that because when shit hits the fan, it's going to hit the fan. Like we have never, and this is just me being Brian with you, we have never experienced anything like what we're going to experience on our soil ever. Matter of fact, we've never experienced what's going to happen anywhere in our experience. What has been done and doing right now has never been done in our galaxy ever. It's the first time a planet has ever gone from a 3rd dimension to a 5th dimension. This is the ascension process. Like this is where this questions I have. If people are talking about Jesus coming back, which I have questions about any of that stuff, what does make sense is the return of the Son of God, the SUN,
right,
is coming. Okay,
right.
And esoterically speaking, that is also cosmic energy, which is the Christed energy, right? Dude, check this out. Have you ever got into understanding and knowing that there is a fluid, a Christos fluid that's secreted from men specifically. I choose to know if women too, but men specifically. Every 29 and a half days, we have a liquid secreted in our dome. Did you know this?
No.
Oh, bro. This is the story of Jesus internally. Okay. We have a Christos fluid that's secreted every 29 and a half days. I have an app where I track it, which means this is crazy. Porn is widely available for free. Because guys getting rid of their seed, that is the gas for our spirit man.
Okay.
Okay. So when this thing is secreted, the oil goes down the chimney. This is a Santa Claus story. Santa Claustrum is the name of the oil, which is kind of fascinating. Goes down the chimney, or the seven churches, or the seven chakra centers. It gets into Bethlehem, which is house of sustenance, which is the solar plexus, where it's merged with the stuff to activate the seed. Then it goes down into our lower chakra center, which is Sodom and Gomorrah in the scripture, where it dies for 3 days. And then it's ascended. It comes back up, if it's not spewed out through sex, through lustrous living, through foods, and through alcohol, and through poisonous stuff, which is fucking everywhere. Okay. If that seed makes it back up, it gets crucified at 33, which is the 33rd vertebrae, which is also when Christ died. Okay. It gets back up here, and then it gets magnified 1,000-fold when it hasn't been spewed or hasn't been released. Now, the thing is, the reason why there's a war on that is because they don't want a bunch of Christed beings on the planet.
Sure.
But if people knew that it was an inside job, they wouldn't be fucking waiting for someone to show up saving them.
Right.
You get the thing?
Yeah.
And if you go back and start doing some research, because I went heavy into this stuff, man, I didn't give a fuck what it cost me. I was committed to the truth. I don't care where it is. Just give me the information. I'll find it for myself. So I went into the Sumerian teachings, Anunnaki teachings. I went into the Emerald tablets. And it's really interesting because there is a common story with different characters doing the same shit over and over and over. The Skywalker, same thing, the Christed being, like all these stories of Star Wars and all of the action figures, like that's all real information that's being coded in stories put in front of our faces. Like, here's the thing. People don't realize the powers that were is what I lovingly call them. They don't realize that they have to tell us the truth. In order for them to be off the hook karmically, where they don't have to get repercussions for any of the shit they're doing, we have to know what's going on.
Right.
That's law. So the reason why watching movies and watching, like, dude, South Park has got stuff on, like, have you ever seen Inside Job?
The movie?
The cartoon?
Oh, no.
On Netflix? It might.
Maybe. Yeah.
Dude, go watch it if it's available, because there's a lot of truth in that. Like The Simpsons, they put all the truth in there. But they put it in cartoons because people wouldn't take it serious. They laugh at it and think, oh, this shit's not real. It's fucking real. So real. They put it in movies, like that's what's going on. All the sci-fi shit, that's all real. People just don't realize it. So real eyes is interesting. So when you actually have that coded information, it comes with a serious responsibility, because I think the hardest part about knowing what I know is just taking that information and realizing I still got to function in a fucked up world and take care of my responsibilities, take care of my house, and do all this other shit when I know it's all a slavery system. We're being bent over every fucking day doing it. You know what I mean? And then being able to participate in that, knowing what I know and not agreeing with it at all, is a lot of my hard challenges. How can I manage knowing all this, feeling this, knowing what's coming down the pipeline, still being able to communicate and share and help other people to make their decisions, and still taking care of the responsibilities and stuff I need to do? Like, this is a lot.
Well, it comes down to, being here, you have to find meaning. Because none of this means anything really,
can't take any of that.
Yeah. And so, like in those instances, like, you have to find reasons to be here and meaning for be here and why you do what you do, so that you want to keep doing it. You know what I mean?
This last segment is brought to you by HeyJustBe.com. I believe that achieving balance in the mental, physical, and metaphysical aspects of your purpose by incorporating learning, serving, and creating can transform your life into one that you truly enjoy living. Want to know more? Go to www.heyjustbe.com.
All right, man. So like how I usually wrap this whole shindig up is I ask people, how they take care of themselves so they can be good for everybody else. I think from this whole entire podcast, it's quite obvious that you take. So I'm really curious about, like, what do you like? How does a day go for you, and an average day of you taking care of yourself with all the stuff that you do? What do you do?
Yeah.
Like when you get up in the morning, what's the first thing you do when you get up?
So I have a morning statement, or an AM statement. I don't like the word morning, obviously, like the double meaning morning. Right. So I have an AM statement, And I'll just share them with you. So one of mine is thy will be done today. And I say it with enthusiasm too. And a lot of times I might say it after I go walking or something, but generally I have an AM statement. I think that's important because as people are really starting to become conscious, you must control your state 100%. The best place to do it is as soon as you realize your head from your ass and you're somewhat here, have something that anchors you into here's what's happening. Like, so this one, mine is thy will be done today. I give thanks for my perfect day of completion and catching every trick. Miracle shall follow miracle and wonders never cease. I look forward with that which is before me, for once I was blind and now I see. And I'll say that with feeling, right? And it has changed over the years. You might have something like, oh, today is going to be my best day ever. Great.
Start there.
You got to start somewhere.
Right.
So as I've come across new pieces of wisdom, I will fine tune and I will tweak and I'll make adjustments, right? One of the most important things throughout the day is I have reminders that go off on my phone. And these reminders are sayings that I have put in there for new information. Like one of mine is, I am grace and ease in action. That's a gold mine for me. Works amazingly well. Keeps me in a very high vibe state. And as I have these reminders and I'm rehearsing this, meaning I'm trying this on all throughout my day, my objective is to be more enthusiastic before I go to sleep than I was when I rose up, which is inevitable with what I do all day long. Okay. Right. So a lot of my time is invested out in the woods and walking around out in nature. I'm a really big nature person. So thank God I kind of can work from wherever I'm at, because at this moment in time, I only do what is necessary to get by because of all the shit going on. I'm like not really interested in investing a lot of time doing anything else. So most of my time is invested in teaching and keeping my vibe as high as possible. That's what I'm doing.
You do you still lift pretty regularly?
Yeah.
I mean, I was like,
Yep.
like, do you yoga now?
I do yoga 3 days a week. I love doing boxing too and kickboxing, but I do weights 2 to 3 days and yoga 2 to 3 days.
And you walk every day?
I walk a lot. Like
multiple times a day?
Sometimes I'm out walking for like 2, 3 hours, 4 hours a day on the calls and just out in the woods. And
but you just walk
doing my decrees or, reading and not listening to my Think Up app. So a lot of times in the morning, like this is a good one. I listen to my Think Up app. That's my music. So it gives me I need music. Music is important for me. It's very influential in how I feel and raising my state.
Me too.
Yeah. And when I can put my conscious stuff and make my own music.
Perfect.
Fuck yeah. That's what I listen to all day. Okay. So I hardwire that information. I get up in the morning, do my rising statement. Now, here's the thing, bro. I mean, this last couple of years has been really interesting because I had my morning routine, everything specced out. At this moment of my journey, dude, I am more focused on being here and now and focused on what feels good for me now. What am I enthusiastic about now? And letting the spirit guide me more so than me having a structured rigidity. But here's the thing. Here's the caveat. If you are not in the game and you're trying to get in the game, you need some structure.
Discipline.
It's inevitable because you must take control of your AM and your PM. And this is what I help people do. Getting clear on AM routines and getting clear on PM routines. And I could show them to you if you choose. I have them all specced out, right? I even have them on a note card, like on a laminate, so I can look at them. But here's what I'll tell you, not necessarily in order of importance, but here's some things that I find if I'm choosing to have an amazing day, these are an essential piece. Essential oils, my Healy, foam rolling, stretching, drinking my Kangen water, working out, doing some yoga. And at this moment of my journey, since I fast more, if I'm weight training, it won't be till 4 or 5 in the afternoon.
Because you got to get some food in, huh?
Yeah, but sometimes I'll fucking go to the gym still fasted and I won't eat until 7 or 8 o'clock at night.
Do you feel like just like a super amount of energy sometimes?
A lot, because here's the thing, because a lot of times nowadays with the food that we eat is I want to take a nap after because it's shit.
Yep.
You know what I mean? But when you have good food, you're going to feel great. This is why I take minerals. I've been doing a lot of sea moss and doing a lot of vegetable. I'll go buy. Have you ever been to H Mart?
I know where it is, but I haven't been.
Bro, we got to go. I go in there and buy, like, dude, with all the shenanigans about to show up, I'll buy 25 pounds of bags of rice and keep it at my house so I have it for when shit goes down, I'm prepared. But I'll go in there and buy cases of mangoes, case of mangosteens. I buy coconuts, whole ones. I generally have 1 or 2 a day. I crack it open, I drink all the stuff, and I eat all the flesh. Gold mine. So a lot of my nutrients now are single ingredients. Asparagus, mangoes, coconuts, pizza on occasions, box of ice cream bunnies on occasions. You know what I mean? I still have shit like that on occasions. I'm still human. But I'll tell you, from an AM and PM perspective, there are things that you need to, and I'll help you. I always do a free call with my people so I can help you out. Because here's the thing, with what I'm showing you and what I'm telling you, if you put it into play, it'll transform your life quickly. Because when you can take control of the two most important times, right when you rise up, when you're in between theta and you're in between beta and you're in between these parts where you can communicate with your subconscious mind and ingrain that information, bro, before you go to sleep at night, if you could just get yourself into a rapture state of enthusiasm, like all your dreams have happened authentically, and pass out like that, your subconscious is marinating in that all night long.
Right.
And after 4, 5, 6 hours of doing this 2, 3 nights, your body's like, hey, our human here is doing this thing consistently. And I believe our human here is asking us to start creating this chemical concoction, because it works the same way. If you have unconscious experiences you shove under the rug, they're still functioning. Your human is like, hey, our dude over here is feeling these things all the time. Maybe we should start helping him out. And it starts reinforcing that, so you don't even have to think about it before the chemicals are already being created. That's a problem unless you're using it for the upgraded side of the fence.
Right.
If not, you have to break the bonds, rewire the neurology, get the chemistry played out so it's no longer in there, and then create new ones. So before you go to sleep at night, I have a whole PM success marinade that I use. Like, some of the questions are, was I enthusiastic today? My enthusiasm is my victory. If I'm not enthusiastic, I was off. And that's my gauge. If I'm not enthusiastic, I'm not at peace, and I'm not having fun, those are my checkpoints. If that's off, then I will immediately go through and track my ABRA points, check where I'm at, clean myself up, and get back in the game. That way, that's why that reminder that every 15 minutes, or maybe you start off with every 30 or every hour, that check-in is important for me to track who I'm being, so that if I'm not in alignment, I'm going to know instantly so I can change it. Because look, with where we're going right now in our time, we're moving into 4th and 5th dimensional properties, which means our ability to create is going to speed up. So when I'm conscious of that and I can track how I'm feeling and I can magnify it more into enthusiasm, more into gratitude, I'm setting myself up to function in the unknown, which is like 93%. That's where all the magic happens. But if I'm structured all the time, got to do this, got to do this, got to do this, you're not going to have any time for that, not necessarily leniency, but for that unicorn.
Well, with constant structure, you're putting a ceiling or a roof on the things that could happen in your life, right?
So I think it's good to have some of both, but that's the problem nowadays too. Is that's why they keep people so busy.
What's your sleep routine? You dark room, real cold. Like what do you do how do you set up your sleep?
Yeah, so definitely cold. Generally as dark as possible. Around my Heelys too.
While you're sleeping?
Yeah. I'll run a sleep program. Remind me tonight, I'll run some scans for you before I go to bed. I'll run my Heelys. I just invest in your sleep. It's important, because when you can program yourself before sleep, like, dude, it does not take long for that to start showing up, because you start programming yourself 1 night, 2 nights, 3 nights. It doesn't take long for that information to start expressing, because you're going to know in your behaviors how you're responding to people will change. So as you start hardwiring this new information, like I had a list of things that I would hardwire, like my best self attributes. I will rehearse them. While I'm doing cardio, I will rehearse these things. While I'm listening to my Think Up app, I have them in there, so I will hear these things. It's just repetition, right?
But you're changing your mind state.
Yeah, changing the data going in for sure.
Yeah, well, or just the place it's in.
Yep.
It can be, your mind can be in a real shitty place.
Yep.
Or it can be in a real good place. And I think it would be easy to say, if your mind's in a really good place, you're in a better place to receive information. If you're in a shitty, so if you're always trying to get your mind in a good place, you're at least at a minimum setting up a good environment for you to go out in the world and create positive, right?
Attitude is a big deal. My mom calls it the big A. So that's why I choose to make this fun and easy is critical, because it helps me keep my attitude to a place where I can move forward effectively, where I can move forward in peace, where I can have fun. Like fucking life's going to happen. I choose to make this fun and easy will allow me to change my attitude about how I'm showing up to life.
I mean, there are going to be hard aspects of life, but that doesn't mean they have to be hard.
That's correct.
I don't know. I hope that makes sense, right?
There are ways to have flexible behaviors, and NLP will tell you, like, look, flexible behaviors is the person who is most flexible in their behaviors will be most successful in life, because rigidity is not necessarily rewarded, you know? Being able to be flexible, like, oh, this is what's going on. All right, I choose to make this fun easy. It allows me to take control of my emotional body. So my emotional body is not getting just, because the reason why people start breaking down and getting sick is because their emotions. They just don't realize that.
Right.
That's the main thing. When things start showing up, it's a code. I haven't been sick since I was in elementary school. And larger part is because I've realized the difference between faith and fear early in life, but also because I've been able to clean up stuff and stay active. You know what I mean? Stay working on doing that kind of stuff. So there's a huge value to taking care of yourself. Matter of fact, if you don't make time for your wellness, you will make time for your illness. That's important. You know? So AM routines. I love my frequency toys. I love my essential oils because they work amazing, especially when you start getting into emotional work. Like when I'm working with people, those work as great lubricants. I love my decrees. I love my spiritual tools. I'm a highly spiritual person, so I use a lot of stuff like my I am adorations. I use my sacred violet flame stuff. There's things that I use and things that I read specifically. As far as PM stuff, do your best to shut down about an hour before you go to bed. Shut off your electronics. Put your phone on airplane mode so that way you keep your phone away from you when you're going to bed, because those things are bad news, man. Like on my phone, I have a couple things. I have that sticker on the back of it. It's by Wave Block. I also have AirPod Pros, and I have these things on there too. These are important. These are Wave Blocks too. You see that black sticker on there? Uh-huh. That blocks the EMFs from going in my noggin. And dude, those things made an astronomical difference. And when I first got these things, I didn't know this. You ever heard of Dr. Pompa?
No.
Dr. Pompa, amazing genius. Check him out. But go do a little Google on the radiation from AirPod Pros. A 1 is high. Those things do like an 18.
Damn.
They're fucking people up. And people are willingly doing it, which that's the bypass, okay?
Right.
But understand that I started using these things, and I would think about something, and I had the picture of it, and bro, I'm like, I've said this thing a gazillion times in my life, but I have never in my life had the challenge of seeing it, but not being able to say what it was. It's because of those things are just smashing my brain. Yeah. Once I started using those wave block things, it made a massive difference. So do everything in your power to take control of your home. Clean your Wi-Fi's up. If you need links, I have resources of stuff that I use, but having tools that work to clean up EMFs, like this is a grounding one. This is also an EMF device. You need things to clean that stuff up to help your sleep be uninterrupted. There's also, too, we talked about this a little bit earlier, the grounding mat. Use one. They're like 20 or 30 bucks. Go on Amazon and just type in earthing, like earth and then ING. It'll pull up stuff like things you can stand on at your desk or things you can put your computer on. Get connected to the earth because it will help your body to start coming into communion with the vibration or the heartbeat of the planet, which is absolutely critical for us as organic beings to be able to move forward effectively and allow spirit to roll through us, because that's really what's going on. More spirit is coming into the planet. Now, you've got two of those. You got the dark one and you got the light one, and you can see very easy what the polarities are at this point in time. They're very front and center on what's going on. So being able to use your grounding mat, or I also, like I told you, the grounding sheet was kind of hot. So we just took the grounding sheet off, and I still have the wire that's plugged into the wall that has a snap on it. So I have a bracelet. I just put it on there and just wear that when I go to sleep. And I can tell you I've slept better, slept harder.
Because you're grounded?
Yeah. And I noticed that my body has less inflammation, which is also a huge deal too.
Especially as you get older.
100%. So detoxification. So check this out. So I started doing, I've been focused a lot on detoxification. A lot of times people are like, oh, detox like once a year. Like, fuck, you better be doing it daily with all the shit that's on now. Right. So there's some stuff called zeolite and some stuff called disodium EDTA. You can get them both on Amazon. If you need links, just message me. I'll send them to you. But disodium EDTA, people who have had the shot that are trying to detox off that stuff, there's had a lot of positive therapies and positive experiences with chelation therapies of disodium EDTA. You know what chelation is?
No.
Chelation is like where they do it intravenously and it pulls out. Like my guy who used to have Parkinson's would do chelation therapies to get the metals out of his body. I could tell as soon as he got out of the car, like he used to box with me when I trained. When he got out of the car, I could tell if he had his chelation therapies because he was just body moving, right?
Yeah.
Metals are everywhere. They're everywhere. They don't say that. We'll say it here. They're in their food. They're in the water. They're fucking everywhere. So you must have support to get that stuff out. Cilantro is your top metal detoxification food. But here's what I was going to tell you. So I started doing foot baths. Okay. There's some things called Nubu, N-U-U-B-U, foot pads that you just put on and put a sock over and go to bed. Those things will suck out a pretty good amount of stuff too. But when I started doing the foot baths, the first 4 of them were pretty black, had nothing to compare it to. So I started cutting out meat. I started doing disodium EDTA and the zeolite and fruits. 5th foot bath that I went into, after I started doing those, dude, I had half the black stuff.
Really?
Half. And I'm consistently sweating and being healthy and stuff like that. But when I started using the zeolite and the disodium EDTA, that's when I started to notice a difference in the amount of stuff that was not coming out. Okay. They're binders. Important. Disodium EDTA, they don't really have a taste. You got to be careful. It's pretty powerful stuff. Like my stomach did some weird shit when I started taking that stuff. So just be careful. You might need to get rid of some stuff, but it's a binder. So any metals that are in foods, any vaccination things, anything, nanobots technology, it's in our air, it's everywhere. Like you cannot avoid it. It's being put in our foods. So the disodium EDTA and the zeolite both are very easy. They have no taste. You can just put them in water and take it, right? Zeolite is one of the only 2 substances on the planet that has all the elements. It's volcanic ash. So fire, water, whatever the other ones are, right? Wood and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. That's all in one. And what happens is zeolite is negatively charged, which is good for us. It goes into our body and it connects to the positively charged stuff, which is not good for us.
Right.
And it pulls that stuff out. So skin, immunity, brain function, like think about it. Our whole body is like, I think the reason why we oxidize is because the metals that are put in our body. But we need those metals some. Like we have organic minerals like copper and stuff like that we need, right? So detoxification is a big deal. It's important, and you can get both of those for like $60. Not very expensive. $44 for a zeolite, which is a pretty big container. Start off on when you get the zeolite, there's a little scooper in there. It's got a big scoop and a little scoop. Just start off on the little scoop, and you can always work your way up. But if any of the information resonates, detoxification, getting off your meats, you got to do what works for you. I'm just doing intuitively what I felt guided to do and what I can tell my body is requesting. And I can tell you this much, dude. Like coming from a bodybuilding background, someone who competed, I'm in better shape now at 45 than I was when I won my show on show day at 30.
Isn't that crazy?
6 meals a day, 7 days a week. I was eating 10 ounces of fish a meal.
Because you weren't really taking care of your body back then. You were feeding.
I thought it was taking care of my body, but you know what I mean? It might have looked like I was healthy, but I was not healthy, you know? So, and it's just part of growing. I mean, it's just, that's what we're here to do. We're here to learn. The only way to learn is to push the envelope, right? If you didn't die, then you learned something. So just being open-minded, like a couple of simple word phrases, like I give myself permission to have fun while I'm comfortable being uncomfortable. That's an important one. I give myself permission to make simple 1-degree shifts. Those are important. Because I tell people, look, I'm not interested in your transformation. What? I'm not. I'm more interested in you being committed to taking simple 1-degree shifts daily. If you do that and you do what I tell you to do and you start making these word adjustments and these food adjustments, in 30 days, you'll look back and go, wow, I feel way better and my life is way different. And I just did baby steps the whole time.
Consistency, right?
Yeah, it's just a matter of being open-minded and realizing legitimately that even as professionals, most of the stuff we've been taught is crap.
Yeah.
It really takes just being open-minded to scrapping all of it if necessary and starting fresh with what actually works. You need to understand how to speak because our language is what keeps people stuck, right? So language, body language, like being aware of what my body is actually telling me so I can change or so I can track like what is scratches, what are issues, or why is my inside growing. It's all information about partnership or intimacy. So there's a lot of information going on. If someone's really committed to thriving, those skill sets they're inevitable.
Oh man, I mean, you have made one hell of an evolution.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
It's amazing.
Yeah. Thank you.
I appreciate you coming in. You can push that mic out of the way.
Yeah, man.
Give me a hug here.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, okay, I got you.
It's heart to heart. I got you. I started doing that so many